Chapter 1701. On the other hand, after entering the water, because he wasn't used to the water, coupled with the resistance of the various currents, his speed was more than twice as slow as when he was in the air. With this difference in speed, the distance between him and Luo Qingtong didn't decrease at all. Seeing the girl's nimble figure swimming in front of him, unable to catch up no matter how hard he tried, Martial Uncle Zhang was furious. Damn it. This damned girl clearly wasn't from the Sea Emperor Dragon Court, so how was she able to swim in the water like a fish in water? He didn't expect this to happen, and could only curse continuously as he chased after her. As for Luo Qingtong, as she swam forward, she was also calmly thinking about how to escape this time. The strength of a holy general was simply too strong. Luo Qingtong's mind flashed with one thought after another, but she rejected all of them in the end. Without absolute certainty, she definitely wouldn't approach him and give him a chance to catch her. A single mistake would be compensated with her life, and there was absolutely no chance of a second chance. Luo Qingtong had been hunted down and was clearer than anyone on this point. Her eyes were incomparably cold. As her body continued to swim forward, the thoughts in her mind were also constantly spinning. At this moment, she suddenly felt that something was wrong with Yi Qianxian in her arms. Qianren no. Luo Qingtong lowered her head, and saw that the silver fox's body was enveloped in a layer of silver light. And within Yi Qianxian's body, an extremely terrifying power was like a primordial beast or a dormant volcano, ready to forcefully awaken. Seeing that the light enveloping his body was increasing, Luo Qingtong hurriedly pressed down on his claws. No, Yi Qianxian wanted to forcefully awaken the power within his body, and reveal the power to break through the demon fox's blood curse. How could this be? If Yi Qianxian's power could be revealed, it would have been revealed long ago. If he forcefully broke through the restrictions of the demon fox's blood curse, it would only worsen the curse. This way, by the time they entered the forbidden area, they didn't know if he would be able to recover successfully, and they didn't know if there would be any side effects. More importantly, Yi Qianxian's young body couldn't withstand such a terrifying amount of power. It would be seriously injured by this power. Hurting others hurts oneself. Luo Qingtong would never allow him to do that. Yi Qianxian, you have to believe me. Stop. Luo Qingtong's voice was cold, and carried a trace of anger. She was not against Yi Qianxian's protection, but that was under the condition that this man was in perfect condition, under the condition that this man had enough ability. In his current situation, who would want him to risk his life to protect himself? Was she, Luo Qingtong, that useless? Without him, she would have to wait for death. No. She was never a woman who could only stay under a man's wing. The love that she wanted was never a one-sided protection and dependence. What she wanted was the respect and trust of both sides. If Yi Qianxian couldn't do it, and could only treat her like a daughter flower that relied on the strong, then they were definitely not suitable. Yi Qianxian. Luo Qingtong's voice, word by word, finally awakened the man's anger and reason. He raised his head to look at Luo Qingtong. The girl's voice was cold and powerful. Do you believe me? Of course he believed. Yi Qianxian furrowed his brows and nodded. Chapter 1702. Good. Then withdraw your power. Luo Qingtong said in a deep voice. If you believe her, then give your life to her. Believe that she can not only protect herself, but also protect him. Yi Qianxian, you have to know that the person standing in front of you is not someone else. She wants to stand side by side with you, the woman who will stand at the peak of this world. If you believe in her, then she can become stronger together with you. If you don't believe in her, then she can only live under your wings forever. Yi Qianxian, do you believe in me? Or are you willing to believe in me? Luo Qingtong stared at Yi Qianxian. Finally, the light on the silver fox's body gradually dissipated. The terrifying power in Yi Qianxian's body, which was like a giant beast and a dormant volcano, also calmed down at this time. Phew! Sensing the changes in his body, Luo Qingtong instantly breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, this man listened to her advice. Otherwise, she wouldn't know what to do. Really, Luo Qingtong felt warm, touched, and angry at this man's action of protecting her. She hugged the little fox that the man had transformed into and kissed him heavily. Then her sharp eyes looked straight ahead. Let's go. Tianren, let's go to Bright Moon Island. This place was the only place that Luo Qingtong had a chance to get rid of martial Uncle Zhang after countless thoughts in her mind. There was a change on Bright Moon Island. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth suddenly fluctuated. No matter what strange things there was something out of the ordinary that could easily trap martial Uncle Zhang of the Breeze Pavilion. As long as they could get rid of the other party, Luo Qingtong would immediately take Yi Qianxian back to see Emperor Island. At that time, when the man returned to his human form, the other party would be courting death. Luo Qingtong thought of this and immediately moved. The map leading to Bright Moon Island appeared in her pupil technique. After carefully comparing the map, Luo Qingtong determined her position on the sea map. Then, she quickly planned the nearest route to Bright Moon Island. In an instant, she swept toward Bright Moon Island like a fish. Boom, boom, boom. Martial Uncle Zhang desperately chased after her. From time to time, he blasted out a series of attacks, trying to block Luo Qingtong's path so that he could catch up to her. However, Luo Qingtong and Yi Qianxian were together. Although the power in the man's body could not be used, it could continuously flow into Luo Qingtong's body, allowing her to instantly explode with a terrifying power that far exceeded her own strength. Coupled with the life and death duality sword, blood eye, and annihilation, it could be said that this martial Uncle Zhang should be glad that Luo Qingtong's strength was only in the sage realm. Otherwise, if she was one realm higher surpassing the sage realm, then Luo Qingtong wouldn't have to be afraid of him. Even if she couldn't kill him, she could still fight him to a draw. Bang! The life and death yin-yang sword in Luo Qingtong's hand constantly waved. The life blade absorbed the power of martial Uncle Zhang's attacks, and at the same time, it turned into a death blade to cut and kill. The attacks blasted out by martial Uncle Zhang were all shattered by her sword light. However, the huge spiritual energy fluctuations caused by the collision of these forces shook her, causing her blood and qi to surge. Fortunately, Luo Qingtong was in the water, and the surging water helped her reduce a lot of the attack's aftermath. Chapter 1703. Bang! Wiping off the blood on her lips, Luo Qingtong waved her hand and shattered another attack from martial Uncle Zhang. Finally, she vaguely saw an island in front of her. That island stood at the end of Luo Qingtong's line of sight. Looking at it, there was a lush forest on the island, which was very dense and flourishing. If she wasn't sure that this was the sea, Luo Qingtong would have thought that she had returned to the East region, and that in front of her was the secluded mountain range in the East region. Swish! When she saw the island appear, Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed with a bloody light. After comparing it with the sea map in her mind, she was very sure that this was the Bright Moon Island she was looking for. Very good. Luo Qingtong's figure shot forward like a water arrow in an instant. Just when Luo Qingtong's figure moved forward for a distance, a huge figure, like a small mountain, suddenly drilled out from her surroundings and rushed towards her. That dense and sharp mouth was wide open, and the mouth was full of teeth. It fiercely bit towards Luo Qingtong. What's this? Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed fiercely. Her bloody eyes had just swept across the front, but she didn't see the figure of the other party? While Luo Qingtong was thinking, that hill-like figure had already rushed in front of her. In an instant, she saw the other party's appearance clearly. That was a huge conch? Luo Qingtong looked at the hill-like conch opening its mouth full of sawtooth and biting towards her, and she was a little surprised. This conch seemed to have its own consciousness? This was too unusual. Conches were not a kind of sea beast. How could it become like this? While Luo Qingtong was surprised, martial Uncle Zhang, who had been chasing her closely, saw this scene and instantly laughed out loud. Ha! Stinky girl, this time you can't run away, right? With this conch blocking Luo Qingtong's path, even if it was just a short delay, it was enough for him to catch up with her. This stinky girl. Let's see where she can run to now. Martial Uncle Zhang had been running all the way, and he was full of anger. Seeing this scene, he couldn't help but sneer. He immediately sped up and rushed towards Luo Qingtong. Seeing his figure rushing over, Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed fiercely. In an instant, The suppression power of the 9-layered exquisite pagoda in her mind swept out. In an instant, without any hesitation, Luo Qingtong's figure, the hill-like conch. The bright Luo Qingtong, Luo Qinggof Luo, and Luo Qingtong, but it was unable to take even a step forward. Boom! When Luo Qingtong passed by the conch, martial Uncle Zhang also arrived. At this moment, the conch also regained its movement. It bit towards martial Uncle Zhang, who was right in front of it. What? Seeing that Luo Qingtong had swept past the conch unscathed, martial Uncle Zhang didn't have time to stop, and was sent into the conch's mouth. Bang! The conch was sent flying by martial Uncle Zhang's palm. At the same time, his body shook violently. The shell of this conch was actually so hard. Uncle Zhang's face was filled with shock. Chapter 1704. Among them, there were sea beasts, conches, and seaweeds. They all seemed to have gained consciousness at the same time. And those sea beasts became even more powerful than before. The same sea beasts that Luo Qingtong had seen along the way were on a completely different level from the ones lurking around Bright Moon Island. The sea beasts around Bright Moon Island were at least 3 to 4 times stronger than those in the sea outside. Moreover, the size of these sea beasts had become extremely huge without exception. What was going on? Luo Qingtong thought of what Huangfu she had told her before. All the sea beasts around Bright Moon Island had mutated. It seemed that the information obtained by the Sea Emperor Dragon Court was not accurate enough. It was not just the sea beasts that had mutated. Everything that had life had all mutated. Luo Qingtong looked at these sea beasts and seaweeds surrounding Bright Moon Island, as if they were guarding something. At the same time, they were not as afraid of the suppression of the 9-story exquisite pagoda, as compared to those demonic beasts she had encountered before. Luo Qingtong looked, and her eyes suddenly flashed. Interesting. There was indeed something hidden in Bright Moon Island. But what was it? Something that could cause these sea beasts to mutate. Was it related to the spiritual energy of heaven and earth? Or was it something else? As Luo Qingtong thought, she immediately activated the suppression of the 9-story exquisite pagoda and rushed forward. Although these sea beasts were not afraid of her suppression, they were unable to resist it. All the sea beasts that rushed forward were suppressed in place. And this moment was enough for Luo Qingtong to sweep past them and rush straight to Bright Moon Island. As Luo Qingtong's figure rapidly swept past these mutated sea beasts and rushed to Bright Moon Island, martial Uncle Zhang, who was chasing after her, met with great misfortune. Those mutated sea beasts could not catch Luo Qingtong, and immediately vented their anger on martial Uncle Zhang. They roared angrily. After regaining their mobility, they waved their limbs and attacked Masters Junior Zhang in a frenzy. Each and every one of them looked as if they were going to tear him into pieces and dismember him into pieces. Martial Uncle Zhang saw that Luo Qingtong had rushed past them so easily, and thought that these mutated sea beasts would not pay attention to them. However, who would have thought that these sea beasts were just ignoring Luo Qingtong? To him, it was like he was trying to kill him to the very end. Martial Uncle Zhang's face twitched when he saw those sea beasts roaring and attacking him. Luo Qingtong. Bitch. He roared and was instantly surrounded by a group of mutated creatures. In an instant, his figure disappeared in the middle of these mutated creatures. Chua. Luo Qingtong's figure appeared at the edge of Bright Moon Island, and she instantly went ashore. She looked back and saw martial Uncle Zhang was completely surrounded by sea beasts. Sounds of violent attacks could be heard from the sea beast's encirclement. Her lips suddenly curled up. Let's go, Qianren. Let's go to this island and take a look. Luo Qingtong carried the little fox in her arms and rushed towards the island. Yi Qianxian was held in her arms, and he felt an indescribable feeling. This was the first time he was so weak and powerless to enjoy someone's protection. The person protecting him was his woman. Chapter 1705. Swish. Luo Qingtong's figure swept towards the interior of the island. The deeper she went, the more astonished she felt. Not for anything else, but the inside of this island was really too strange. The surrounding vegetation was dense, much thicker and more luxuriant than when Luo Qingtong had seen it from afar before. The trees here towered into the sky with luxuriant foliage. They were much taller than the towering trees that Luo Qingtong had seen in the deep mountains of the eastern region before. Not only that, many of the vegetation here were much larger than what Luo Qingtong had seen outside. Such a change made Luo Qingtong's heart full of vigilance. She thought of the changes in the creatures in the sea. It was very likely that the things on this bright moon island had also undergone such a change. Yi Qianxian, who was in her arms, also perceived this point. He immediately frowned slightly, looking at the scene in front of him. Luo Qingtong didn't allow him to forcibly activate the power in his body, and he had no choice. Although he didn't care if his internal injuries would worsen, he was used to it anyway. But Luo Qingtong cared. Yi Qianxian could see from Luo Qingtong's eyes that if he forcibly ignored Luo Qingtong's thoughts and activated the power in his body, this woman would probably ignore him in the future, let alone be with him. Yi Qianxian would never allow such a thing to happen. Therefore, for the first time in his life, he went against his own inner thoughts and suppressed the power in his body. Only because this woman, she loved him dearly. Yi Qianxian's heart was complicated. As the heavenly vein body, he had an extremely powerful and terrifying power since birth, and as he grew older, it continued to strengthen. If it weren't for the drawbacks of the heavenly vein body, no one in this world would be able to match him. But even so, in front of Luo Qingtong, he was always just an ordinary man. The young girl had never treated him as an unreachable expert that she could only rely on. She only regarded him as her man, a man she could spend the rest of her life with. She accepted his protection because he was her man. Similarly, she didn't accept his protection because he was her man. In this world, only this woman would treat him like this, right? Yi Qianxian raised his head slightly and looked at Luo Qingtong, who was flying rapidly. The girl's face was beautiful, but her expression was solemn. Her gaze was focused and vigilant as she scanned her surroundings. Feeling Yi Qianxian's gaze, Luo Qingtong thought he was worried about her. She quickly lowered her head and kissed his little nose. "It's okay," Luo Qingtong said, "don't worry." She comforted the man in her arms, afraid that he would be worried about her, and couldn't help but forcefully activate the power in his body. Luo Qingtong finally managed to persuade him. She didn't want him to do that again. "Roar." Yi Qianxian responded softly. Then, as if it had thought of something, it lifted its paw and wrote a few words on Luo Qingtong's palm. "Release that pig." Yi Qianxian was naturally referring to Little Pig. Although Little Pig couldn't display much of its strength, it might be able to help Luo Qingtong in this strange place. Okay. Luo Qingtong felt the words Yi Qianxian wrote on her palm. She immediately nodded and released Little Pig. Chapter 1706. Luo Qingtong's moving figure did not stop. She tossed Little Pig onto her shoulder. After Little Pig settled down, his face was still filled with lingering fear. "Oh my God! You scared me to death. Where is this place? Did you return to the eastern domain?" Little Pig looked at the lush forest around him. "No." Luo Qingtong gave a concise reply. "I'm on Bright Moon Island. Something is obviously wrong here. Can you feel anything?" Luo Qingtong scanned her surroundings. As she went deeper into the forest, the changes in the vegetation became more serious. The trees and weeds were incomparably huge. Luo Qingtong had just passed by a grass that was almost as tall as her. Not only that, but these weeds and trees also contained extremely rich spiritual energy. Not to mention other things, these weeds and trees were all extremely ordinary species. They couldn't possibly contain the spiritual energy of heaven and earth like those spiritual trees and herbs. However, these trees and weeds that Luo Qingtong saw were all like spiritual flowers and herbs. Their bodies were filled with rich spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Just as Luo Qingtong's voice faded away, "Roar!" A beast-like roar resounded. A plant that was originally standing motionlessly beside Luo Qingtong, with an extremely gorgeous flower blooming on top of its head, suddenly pounced on her. The branches and leaves of that plant were like human hands, grabbing at Luo Qingtong. At the same time, the gorgeous pink flower on top of its head suddenly opened its petals. Under the tightly closed petals, what was wrapped wasn't the incomparably beautiful stamen, but countless sharp teeth. A demonic plant. Luo Qingtong reacted quickly. She had kept her blood-red eyes open all along the way, but she didn't find anything alive. Her heart was already filled with all kinds of vigilance. The plant was fine when it was still. Because of the surrounding trees, Luo Qingtong didn't notice anything different about it. But this time, it suddenly moved, and immediately distinguished itself from the surrounding forest. In an instant, Luo Qingtong's blood-red eyes showed the scene of it pouncing on her. At the same time, all the data of this plant appeared in front of her. Mutated demonic plant, Saint Realm. Bang! Luo Qingtong instantly slashed out with the life and death duality sword in her hand. Annihilation. Without using the 1,000-year soul-guiding wood's tree heart or Yi Qianren's power, Luo Qingtong slashed with her sword and cut this demonic flower in half. However, after being cut in half, this demonic plant was still very tenacious. Its branches and leaves were still encircle Luo Qingtong. Plants were different from animals. Animals would die if they were beheaded. But plants, especially demonic plants, they had to have their cores. Their cores after they awakening their spiritual energy, their cores, after they awaken usually, they wouldn't show themselves. When they encountered danger, they would quickly move away. However, this demonic plant was destined to not have this opportunity when it met Luo Qingtong. The blood-red light in the girl's eyes flashed slightly. In an instant, she saw through the core of the demonic plant. Chapter 1707. Swoosh. The Black Death blade instantly slashed open the demonic flower's body and smashed its core into pieces. The demonic flower didn't even have the time to scream before it collapsed under Luo Qingtong's sword. Bam! Luo Qingtong kicked the demonic flower away. At this moment, Yi Qianxian and Little Pig's voices rang out at the same time. Be careful! Roar! Amidst their screams, countless leaves and branches surrounded Luo Qingtong from all directions and attacked her. Demonic trees that could awaken spirits were hidden everywhere in the depths of Bright Moon Island. One must know that it was extremely difficult for a plant to awaken its spirit. Just look at the 1,000-year soul-guiding wood, and you'll know how many people would scramble for it. However, at this moment, there were more than 100 branches flying around Luo Qingtong. Moreover, none of them were below the Saint Realm. The leaves and branches that filled the sky were truly terrifying. There was no way to escape from such a dense encirclement. Killing intent was everywhere. There was no chance of survival at all. Luo Qingtong finally understood why there were no life forms on this island. And why were the sea creatures densely surrounding the entire island, but never coming ashore? After she passed by them and landed on the island, they targeted Marshal Uncle Zhang from the Breeze Pavilion. So it was because of these demonic plants. Roar! Qingtong. Seeing these demonic plants attacking Luo Qingtong at the same time, Yi Qianxian's eyes turned cold. Almost instantly, his claws grabbed the front of Luo Qingtong's clothes, and he was about to jump out. It didn't matter even if this woman was angry. He absolutely couldn't let her be in danger in front of him. The attacks from these plants were too strong and dense. Even if Luo Qingtong could see through their attacks, without sufficient strength, she couldn't break through them, let alone escape from this encirclement. However, just as he was about to make his move, Little Pig's voice abruptly rang out at this moment. Aya! Oh my god! So many demonic trees! Quick, quick, quick! Quickly take out the 1,000-year soul-guiding wood's core! Little Pig's voice was urgent. At this moment, he still didn't know that Yi Qianxian was that little fox in Luo Qingtong's arms. Seeing so many demonic plants rushing toward Luo Qingtong, Little Pig was so anxious that he stomped his little hooves. If something happened to Luo Qingtong, he would also be finished. 1,000-year soul-guiding wood's core? The bloody light in Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed violently. She tried her best to find the gaps and escape routes among the leaves and branches. However, there were too many fluttering leaves and branches. It could be said that all her escape routes were blocked. Just as Luo Qingtong was frowning, she heard Little Pig's voice. Yi Qianxian also stopped circulating the energy in his body. That's right. It's the 1,000-year soul-guiding wood's core. That's a 1,000-year demonic tree. I don't know how many souls and auras it refined. It cultivated for 1,000 years and evolved for 1,000 years before it could open its spirit. These demonic trees are all afraid of its aura. The demonic trees also had the concept of rank and class. These demonic trees were obviously catalyzed by external forces. They were simply not on the same level as the 1,000-year soul guiding wood. Chapter 1708. Luo Qingtong had the heart of the 1,000-year soul guiding tree, which was the most important essence of the 1,000-year soul guiding tree. As long as Luo Qingtong took it out, the spirit awakening demon trees would immediately disperse and retreat when they sensed the aura emitted from it. Luo Qingtong vaguely understood the situation. Previously, she had put away the heart of the 1,000-year soul guiding tree because its power had been exhausted. Along the way, she had relied on Yi Qianxian's power to fight against martial Uncle Zhang. She hadn't thought of this at that time. Now that she thought about it, if she had the heart of the 1,000-year soul guiding tree in her hand from the beginning, the spirit awakening demon trees wouldn't have dared to attack her. With this thought in mind, Luo Qingtong suddenly flipped her hand and took out the heart of the 1,000-year soul guiding tree. In an instant, whoosh whoosh whoosh, the branches, leaves, and branches that were originally ferociously dancing toward Luo Qingtong from all directions sensed the aura of the heart of the 1,000-year soul guiding tree in Luo Qingtong's hand. They instantly retreated as if they had seen a ghost. Luo Qingtong could even feel the aura of incomparable panic and fear emitted from their bodies. Obviously, as Little Pig said, these spirit awakening demon trees were very afraid of the aura of the 1,000-year soul guiding tree. Luo Qingtong didn't expect that the heart of the 1,000-year soul guiding tree she had accidentally obtained would be of such great use at this time. However, it was fortunate that she had the heart of the 1,000-year soul guiding tree. Otherwise, Yi Qianxian would have definitely used its power. Luo Qingtong felt the aura of the little silver fox in her arms rapidly increasing. Fortunately, Yi Qianxian suppressed it in the end. Little Pig also noticed the unusual aura of power in Luo Qingtong's arms. He looked toward Luo Qingtong's arms and saw Yi Qianxian. "Oh, it's you, little one." Looking at the silver fox in Luo Qingtong's arms, Little Pig had a smug look on his face. Anyway, Luo Qingtong had the heart of the 1,000-year-old soul guiding wood in her hand. Unless she encountered a monster wood of the same level and strength, there was basically no problem. Suddenly, it was in the mood to play tricks. It jumped onto Luo Qingtong's arm and poked the silver fox in Luo Qingtong's arms. "I can't tell. You're pretty good too. Yi Qianren, that fellow, really has good taste. Alright, from now on, just follow that little white ball and that little golden mouse and call me boss." Little Pig shook its little hoof with a smug look on its face. It's great to have another little brother. Although this little brother of his was very displeasing to the eye, he was unexpectedly spoiled by Luo Qingtong. But this woman's love wasn't something an ordinary person could enjoy. This little one was given preferential treatment by that man, Yi Qianxian. Otherwise, who knew how that man would deal with him? Thinking of this, Little Pig's heart instantly felt better. Luo Qingtong looked at Little Pig's smug face and really didn't know what to say. Every time she thought this pig was a little reliable, it would always use various methods to tell her that it was just her misperception. It wanted Yi Qianxian to call it boss and call it little one? Luo Qingtong looked at Yi Qianxian's dark face and couldn't help but laugh. Haha. Chapter 1709. Yi Qianxian gnashed his teeth in anger when he saw her like this. He raised his paw and slapped her face. Then he coldly glared at Little Pig. "What are you looking at? Are you still not convinced that I let you call me boss?" Little Pig was baffled by Luo Qingtong's smile, but he didn't think too much about it. When he saw Yi Qianxian glaring at him, he immediately stuck out his round belly and glared back. In the end, he even snorted. "Don't think that you're so great just because you were given to me by that man. That man is narrow-minded and easily jealous. He's also unreasonable. If you continue to be so arrogant now, who knows when you'll be made into a fur coat? Who told you to be so smug?" Ha. Luo Qingtong was already trying her best to hold back her laughter when she was slapped by Yi Qianxian. When she heard Little Pig's words, she instantly collapsed on the ground laughing. "I can't take it anymore. Even if this man wants to settle accounts with me in the future, I won't be able to hold back anymore. Oh, Luo Qi. Yi Qianren couldn't control the temperament of a young fox in her body and instantly pounced towards Luo Qingtong. Haha. Luo Qingtong hugged the silver fox that pounced on her and scratched and bit her. She laughed until she was out of breath. Okay, I promise I won't laugh anymore. Really? Luo Qingtong said and couldn't help but laugh again. She comforted the angry silver fox in her arms, and then looked at the confused little pig. She held back her laughter and said, "Humph, you're really something. From now on, let Yi Qianxian call you boss. Remember to tell him when he returns to his human form." As Luo Qingtong said this in an instant. Thump. Little pig's body fell from Luo Qingtong's shoulder. It's Yi Qianxian. Little pig raised his paw in disbelief and pointed at the cute, furry silver fox in Luo Qingtong's arms. This little dumpling was that terrifying man. After receiving Luo Qingtong's confirmation, Little Pig instantly fell backward with a thump. It's over. Little Pig thought about the things he said about Yi Qianxian just now. Tears streamed down his face. Sob. This woman is not kind. She didn't even warn me. No matter what, it was still her contracted beast. Could he still act tough properly? How can she trick me like this? While Luo Qingtong and the rest were out of danger, on the other side, Uncle Master Zhang dragged his injured body onto the island. You? Master Zhang trembled with anger when he saw the injuries on his body. He raised his hand and swallowed the best healing pill he had obtained. Then he sat down cross-legged and began to recover his strength and injuries. Luo Qingtong, that bitch. Wait until I'm done healing. I'll teach her a lesson. Master Zhang had already figured out a way to deal with those mutated creatures when he was besieged by them. If Luo Qingtong wanted to use this method to deal with him again, it would be absolutely impossible. If this woman has the ability, then don't leave this island. If she leaves, then I'll immediately catch up to her and kill her. Master Zhang swore in his heart as he recovered from his injuries. Meanwhile, Luo Qingtong had already stopped laughing. Chapter 17:10. She could feel a faintly discernible attractive force attracting the heart of the thousand-year soul guiding wood in her hand. Luo Qingtong sensed the strong desire from the heart of the thousand-year soul guiding wood. She immediately dashed in the direction of the attractive force. If she guessed correctly, this should be the cause of the strange changes on the island. Swoosh. Luo Qingtong dashed through the lush trees on the island at lightning speed. The closer she got to the attractive force, the more excited the heart of the thousand-year soul guiding wood in her hand became. The desire it transmitted to her became stronger and stronger. Luo Qingtong followed its instructions and dashed out. Soon she arrived at a place that looked like a valley. It was said to be a valley because this place was completely surrounded by trees. One after another, gigantic trees towered into the sky. Each tree was as thick as dozens of people hugging it. As for the tree in the middle, it was even thicker and sturdier. All of these trees were not even half as thick as this one. This gigantic tree towered in the middle of this forest valley. The surrounding trees gave Luo Qingtong a strange feeling. Myriad spirit nurturing array? Oh my god. Who set this up? Little Pig couldn't help but blurt out when he saw the mountain valley filled with trees. Myriad spirit nurturing array? Luo Qingtong squinted her eyes. She looked at the forest valley in front of her. The bloody light in her eyes intensified. She immediately saw the layout of this valley. It was a gigantic forest array. The gigantic tree in the center was the core of this array. Yes. Myriad spirit nurturing array. Myriad spirit nurturing array. These trees have all become wood spirits. The heart of wood spirit is condensed in their bodies. This is the purest essence of energy. Do you still remember the Holy Realm flower condensed by Feng? This one has the same effect as that one. Every heart of wood spirit is enough to create a Holy Realm expert. Oh my god, there are so many here. Furthermore, these wood spirits are only there to serve as a foil. I'm afraid that the spiritual tree in the center has already condensed the heart of all trees. This is a heaven and earth spirit treasure that is one level higher than the wood spirit heart. If you're able to obtain it, then your current strength is entirely capable of directly advancing into the Saint realm. Not only that, the Heart of Myriad Wood contains an attribute that allows you to communicate with the world spirit chi without any hindrance. It's enough for you to cultivate to the Exalt realm in the future, without having to worry about bottlenecks. In this world, what was the power closest to the heavenly Tao? Naturally, it was the power of life. As for the wood element, it represented the power of life. The power of the Heart of Myriad Trees allowed Luo Qingtong to easily comprehend the power and essence of the power of heaven and earth. Of course, the grade of this Heart of Myriad Trees wasn't very high. After all, it was catalyzed by ordinary trees. But even then, it was sufficient for Luo Qingtong to attain the Exalt realm, and she didn't have to worry about being stuck in her cultivation and being unable to advance. What a treasure! This was a good treasure. Little Pig was so excited that he kept jumping on Luo Qingtong's shoulder. He never expected that Luo Qingtong would encounter such a good thing on Bright Moon Island. Chapter 17:11. But because they weren't in the array formation, they couldn't obtain protection. Once they killed the creatures on the island, they would turn into monster trees. That was why Luo Qingtong hadn't seen any living creatures along the way. Of course not. They were all killed by the spirit-opening monster trees. However, this myriad spirit breeding array wasn't an array formation that just anyone could know about, and it wasn't something that an average person could lay down. Not to mention such a large array formation that also stimulated the Heart of Myriad Trees. This was strange. It was reasonable to say that in the true Spill continent, and even the hidden world, no one should be able to do this. Who left this array formation behind? Looking at the situation, it must have been left behind for a long time. If it weren't for the Heart of Myriad Trees condensing and forming, causing a change in the world's spiritual energy, which was sensed by the monster beasts and discovered by Luo Qingtong, perhaps no one would have known that there would be such a change here. While Little Pig was lost in thought, on the other side, Luo Qingtong also figured out what was going on. So that's how it is. The Heart of Myriad Trees could directly enter the Saint realm? Luo Qingtong's lips slightly curled up. Very good. She thought of Martial Uncle Zhang of the Breeze Pavilion who had been chasing her all this time, and the smile on her lips became increasingly bloodthirsty and enchanting. Originally, she only wanted to take advantage of the strangeness of Bright Moon Island to get rid of him. But now Luo Qingtong had changed her mind. She was never willing to suffer a loss. She wasn't willing to let go of any opportunity to become stronger and take revenge. As long as there was a slight chance, she would immediately seize it. Then, she would teach those who dared to go against her a lesson. She couldn't change her personality even now. Since she couldn't change it, then she wouldn't change it. That Martial Uncle Zhang had been chasing her all this time. He must be feeling very good, right? Later, she would make him feel even more good. Come, let's go and get the Heart of Myriad Trees, Luo Qingtong said in a deep voice. Hey, wait. This myriad spirit breeding array is a hole. If you break this array, all the wood spirits will awaken and attack us. These wood spirits were only dormant because of the myriad spirit nurturing array. Once it was broken, they would immediately attack Luo Qingtong, the person who broke the formation. At that time, not to mention obtaining the Heart of Myriad Trees, it would already be good if they could come out alive. Especially since this man had turned into a cute little silver fox. Little Pig glanced at Yi Qianxian in Luo Qingtong's arms. Then what do you suggest we do? Luo Qingtong, who was about to rush forward, suddenly stopped. Breaking the array was not a difficult task for her. But dealing with these wood spirits would be troublesome. No, it wasn't just troublesome. Once these wood spirits woke up, unless Yi Qianxian made a move, they would be lucky if they didn't die inside. And Luo Qingtong would never risk Yi Qianxian's body. If Yi Qianxian was the only one who could obtain the Heart of Myriad Trees, she would rather give up and leave. But if that was the case, that Martial Uncle Zhang might be able to benefit from it. Luo Qingtong wasn't sure if he recognized the myriad spirit nurturing array and the wood spirits. If he did, he would definitely send a message to the people of the Breeze Pavilion in the hidden world if he saw this scene after following her into this island. Not only that, he would also make a move and risk his life to obtain the heart of myriad trees. At that time, not only would his strength increase greatly, she would also lose this opportunity. Luo Qingtong thought, and immediately frowned. Chapter 17:12. Of course I have a way. But, it looked at Luo Qingtong with a despicable expression and transmitted its voice to her. If I tell you, you have to put in a good word for me in front of this man. You can't let him find trouble with me again. Little Pig's voice sounded directly in Luo Qingtong's mind. It was using the unique communication method between it and Luo Qingtong. Luo Qingtong had a faint smile on her face. This pig still dares to negotiate with me? However, if it's only this matter, then it's fine. Okay, I promise you, Luo Qingtong said in her mind. Okay. Little Pig felt relieved after Luo Qingtong agreed. It couldn't be helped. It had made such a big mistake before, so it felt like its pig life was going to be over. Luo Qingtong, its master, had never cared about it. Little Pig could only try its best to save itself. After getting Luo Qingtong's agreement, it immediately moved closer to Luo Qingtong and whispered to her. You can do this. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows after hearing its words. Are you sure this method will work? If it didn't work, then she would be completely trapped in the center of the myriad spirit nurturing formation. At that time, with so many wood spirits and that huge tree attacking her, it will definitely work. Don't worry. Little Pig made a solemn vow. Our lives are connected. I won't joke about this. Okay. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes. I'll listen to you this time. Let's go. Luo Qingtong's figure dashed toward the forest valley. This spirit-nurturing array did not pose any hindrance to her. Swoosh! When Luo Qingtong dashed into the forest valley, Martial Uncle Zhang on Bright Moon Island had finished healing his injuries and continued to dash toward the depths of the island. Luo Qingtong's body had the aura left behind by his previous attack. He could feel that she was on this island. Humph! That bitch is smart. If she had immediately left in another direction after coming ashore, he would have immediately chased after her. He wouldn't have been entangled with those mutated creatures, let alone be injured. But this island seems a bit strange. Martial Uncle Zhang said as he vigilantly scanned the surroundings. He wasn't stupid. There were so many mutated creatures in the sea. Their strength was not something the creatures in the sea could compare with. Moreover, there were lush green forests on this island. If he didn't know that there was something strange about this island, then there was something wrong with his brain. Martial Uncle Zhang suspected that Luo Qingtong wanted to use this strange island to get rid of him. Humph! Even if there's something strange on this island, it's nothing. Martial Uncle Zhang. As a Saint General, within the mortal lands of True Spill Continent, there was simply no place that could pose a threat to him. Luo Qingtong, that bitch, just wait for her death. Martial Uncle Zhang's face was filled with a cold and stern expression. However, at this moment, an extremely thick branch suddenly whipped towards him. Martial Uncle Zhang's heart was filled with vigilance. He quickly dodged to the side. However, just as he dodged the incomparably thick branch, on the other side, countless branches and leaves sliced towards him like flying knives. Chapter 17:13. Demonwood Siege. The scene that Luo Qingtong encountered before was also played out on this master's junior Zhang. But he did not have the luck of Luo Qingtong, who could have the heart of the 1,000-year-old soul-guiding tree to intimidate these spirit-opening demonwood. Bang bang bang. One attack after another fell on master's junior Zhang's body. In an instant, even if he was a holy general, he was blasted away by the joint violent attack of this group of spirit-opening demonwood. Puff! He spat out a mouthful of blood, and his heart was horrified. What's going on? He looked at the spirit-opening demonwood around him in shock, not knowing how so many spirit-opening demonwood appeared here. Not only that, but their strength was also so powerful. If not for the fact that he was a Saint General, he would have been killed by these berserk spirit-opening demon trees in that round of attack just now. What's going on? How could there be so many spirit-opening demonwood here? And how did Luo Qingtong pass through here? Seeing those spirit-opening demonwood coming towards him again, Masters Junior Zhang did not dare to be negligent in his heart. He quickly used all the strength in his body and desperately rushed in the direction of the inner island. In any case, he could not let Luo Qingtong go. Moreover, the other party could pass through here, indicating that she had a treasure that could restrain the spirit-opening demon wood. The other party had so many treasures. Masters Junior Zhang felt a burst of excitement in his heart. He thought that all the things on Luo Qingtong were given by Yi Qianxian, and suddenly sneered. That Blackfield Mingzun was generous to his woman. However, these things were all going to benefit him now. Not only that, the changes on this island were so strange. These spirit-opening demon wood were definitely not formed by chance. There must be a great opportunity in it. Haha. He was rich. When he killed Luo Qingtong, all the things here would belong to him. At that time, when he returned to the sect, he might be able to jump to the top. Haha. Luo Qingtong bitch. Thank you for bringing me to this place. In return, I'll make sure you don't die so miserably. Uncle Zhang laughed out loud, then rushed toward the inner island with a ferocious look on his face. Boom boom boom. Wave after wave of berserk attacks came from the point of contact between him and the spirit-unlocking demonic tree. At this moment, Luo Qingtong had already brought Yi Qianxian and Little Pig into the forest valley, which was also the myriad spirit-nurturing formation. Every step the girl took was within the safe zone of the spirit-nurturing array. As the spirit-nurturing array operated, she constantly changed her figure and position. Every landing point was extremely precise. This formation was extremely huge and profound. The aura inside was majestic and vast, and the spiritual energy inside was extremely abundant. It was no wonder that the trees here could grow so quickly and form with spirits. One had to know that it was almost impossible for ordinary trees to grow into wood spirits. Only after tens of thousands of years of accumulation, among countless trees, could one tree possibly have such an opportunity and good fortune. However, in this myriad spirit-nurturing array, there were more than tens of thousands of wood spirits. As soon as Luo Qingtong entered, she immediately felt the difference in this myriad spirit-nurturing array. Chapter 1714. Otherwise, Luo Qingtong could have continued to cultivate here, until she could no longer advance. She would then consume the heart of myriad trees, and the effects would definitely be better. When that time came, she wouldn't have to fear the Breeze Pavilion or the Beast-Taming King Valley when she went to the hidden world. Luo Qingtong's eyes narrowed, and her heart was filled with regret. However, when she thought about how good things couldn't happen to her in this world, the heart of myriad trees was already good enough. She immediately felt relieved. She adjusted her mood, and after a few flashes, she finally followed the operation of the myriad trees nurturing array, and arrived in front of the centermost giant tree without alerting anyone. Looking at this giant tree that was so large that even 200 or 300 people wouldn't be able to encircle it, Luo Qingtong's eyes narrowed. She raised her hand and blasted at a certain spot at the foot of this giant tree. Break the array core. Following Luo Qingtong's action, that giant tree, along with the wood spirits in the entire mountain forest valley, all trembled violently. The array beneath their feet was activated, and they immediately attacked Luo Qingtong. Boom boom boom. In an instant, the entire mountain forest valley was like an incomparably terrifying killing machine that had been activated. Countless leaves and branches all rushed at Luo Qingtong in an instant. The net of branches and leaves that filled the sky condensed into an incomparably huge and terrifying cage that overflowed with murderous intent, completely enveloping Luo Qingtong within. At this moment, the giant tree beside Luo Qingtong also stretched out its branches, and then blasted at Luo Qingtong with incomparable murderous intent. The thin and thick branches all around its body carried an incomparably biting cold and terrifying aura, and they were like flying daggers that blasted at Luo Qingtong, killing intent from both inside and outside. There was no way to escape. Seeing this scene, Luo Qingtong's eyes flickered violently. In an instant, she fully activated her ocular technique. Boom. Her figure leaped up in an instant, passing through the terrifying waterfall-like attack formed by the giant tree's branches. Then, the heart of the 1,000-year-old soul-guiding tree in her hand accurately sank into the array core that she had just broken open. At this time, because the formation core had been broken, this huge tree had completely uprooted itself from the ground where it had taken root. Like a living creature, it moved its roots and brandished its branches that filled the sky, blasting towards Luo Qingtong. At this moment, the heart of the 1,000-year soul-guiding tree entered the heart of the formation and replaced the position of the giant tree. At the same time, a ray of light shot out from Luo Qingtong's hand. In an instant, the array core was repaired. That's right, the method Little Pig told Luo Qingtong was to first break the core of the array, then lure out the giant tree and replace it with the 1,000-year soul-guiding tree's core, to become the array's core. In this way, the myriad spirit nurturing array was not broken, and Luo Qingtong naturally did not have to face the siege of the entire valley. An ordinary tree would definitely not be able to do this. After all, in order to become the array core, suppress the other wood spirits in the myriad spirit nurturing array, and bear the burden of the entire array's operation, the tree in the center must be stronger than the other wood spirits. Otherwise, even if it was planted, the entire array core would not be stable. At that time, the myriad spirit nurturing array would also collapse. The other wood spirits would also lose control. Chapter 17:15. In terms of the power and level of the wood spirit, it was not inferior to the giant tree in the center of the array. With Luo Qingtong's help, the entire myriad spirit nurturing array was completely stabilized in an instant. The terrifying attacks that were about to besiege Luo Qingtong disappeared in an instant. With the myriad spirit nurturing array stabilized, the wood spirits naturally quieted down again. In this forest valley, there was only the giant tree that Luo Qingtong lured out of the array's core position. Boom boom boom. The giant tree had already developed spiritual intelligence. After sensing the changes in the entire myriad spirit nurturing array, it immediately changed its attack and blasted towards the heart of the 1,000-year-old soul-guiding tree that occupied the array's core position. However, how could Luo Qingtong let it touch the heart of the 1,000-year-old soul-guiding tree? The other party replaced the giant tree to stabilize the entire myriad spirit nurturing array. Only then could she deal with the giant tree and take the heart of myriad trees from its body. Qianren, Luo Qingtong shouted in a low voice. Yi Qianxian understood and poured the power in his body into Luo Qingtong's body in an instant. Boom! The life and death dual polarity sword in Luo Qingtong's hand turned into a death blade in an instant. The black aura of death diffused, and the sword light burst out for dozens of feet in an instant. Luo Qingtong raised her hand and waved. Heaven-conquering art. Heaven-seizing move and annihilation. The life and death dual polarity sword in Luo Qingtong's hand slashed twice in an instant. After the heaven-seizing move swept out, the tail of her sword fiercely lifted. An annihilation attacked again in an instant. Like the Milky Way hanging upside down, a ray of light suspended in the air caught up with the heaven-seizing move in an instant. The power of the latter's sword light was constantly being eliminated, and then it rapidly strengthened the power of annihilation. Luo Qingtong was using this method to strengthen her own attack. Two heaven-conquering arts attacks were launched, and the two sword lights overlapped. Coupled with Yi Qianxian's strength, the strength that Luo Qingtong could display at this moment was amazing. Boom boom boom. When the waterfall of branches from the giant tree reached the heart of the 1,000-year-old soul-guiding tree, they were all chopped into pieces by Luo Qingtong's sword light. Now is the time. Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold, and the bloody light in her eyes was fixed on a point in the huge tree. Bang! Her figure flashed out in an instant, and before the branches around the huge tree grew out again, she suddenly appeared somewhere on its trunk. And then suddenly he stabbed the life and death yin-yang sword into the giant tree. The bark of this giant tree had been cultivated to the point where it was as hard as metal. Coupled with the restoration of the power of wood, ordinary swords and attacks could do nothing to it. However, the sword in Luo Qingtong's hand was the death blade of the life and death yin-yang sword. Life and death depend on each other, life and death duality. The deathly aura within it kept eliminating the power of wood on the huge tree. Then with a loud boom, it broke through the bark of the huge tree. Rip! The life and death yin-yang sword in Luo Qingtong's hand slashed forward, approaching the core of the huge tree in an instant. The heart of all trees. The life and death yin-yang sword in Luo Qingtong's hand changed into the life blade form. When the heart of all trees saw that Luo Qingtong had broken through the bark, it immediately wanted to move. However, at this moment, it felt the rich vitality emitted by the life blade in Luo Qingtong's hand. Instantly it was stunned. Chapter 17:16. Swoosh. Luo Qingtong flicked the long sword in her hand. That heart of 10,000 trees was flicked out in an instant, flying into the air. It broke away from that huge tree. Screech! That huge tree suddenly let out an incomparably mournful cry. Those newly grown branches that were as sharp as swords and sabers instantly withered as they surrounded Luo Qingtong. Countless branches drooped down from the sky. Some of these branches were incomparably sharp, and they were already approaching Luo Qingtong. The wind that swiftly shot out cut Luo Qingtong's skin and robe in an instant. If Luo Qingtong's movements were slightly slower, or if there was any mistake in her movements, that heart of 10,000 trees would escape. Then, what awaited her was a situation of instant death. Yi Qianxian in her arms was extremely tense. He was ready to mobilize the power in his body at any time, and forcibly break through the restrictions of the demon fox blood curse. And Luo Qingtong also knew Yi Qianxian's plan. So, in order to not let this man take risks for her, every step of her calculations was calculated to the extreme. The bloody light in her eyes was urged to an extremely dazzling and resplendent state. Her entire pair of eyes looked like a bloody wave rippling within. It was also like an extremely beautiful red agate, exquisite and translucent to the extreme. This pair of bloody eyes seemed to carry an extremely bloody and violent beauty, and also had an extreme fairy-like and illusory charm, like a demon and like a god. At this moment, Luo Qingtong looked soul-stirringly beautiful, standing proudly in the blue dome of heaven. Bang! Luo Qingtong raised her hand and grabbed the heart of 10,000 trees that she had flicked up in the air. Her figure instantly swept over that huge tree. Boom, boom, boom. That huge spiritual tree about 100 feet tall crashed to the ground, shattering into pieces of wood behind Luo Qingtong. Without the heart of myriad trees, the giant tree lost its life force and turned into a rotten tree in an instant. Luo Qingtong landed lightly on the ground like a butterfly. When her feet touched the ground, she suddenly staggered and almost fell forward. I'm fine. The bloody light in Luo Qingtong's eyes was extinguished. She gently patted the little fox Yi Qianxian, who had grabbed her by the collar, and was eager to check on her. She lowered her head and kissed it to comfort it. The scene just now was too thrilling. Luo Qingtong's mind was tense to the extreme, and her blood pupils were also pushed to the extreme. Her entire body's strength was completely drained in an instant. It could be said that he had been hollowed out. Due to overexertion, it was natural for him to be unsteady on his feet. But in the end he had obtained the heart of myriad trees. As Luo Qingtong thought to herself, she lowered her head and looked at the heart of myriad trees in her hand. The latter struggled with all its might in her hand, as if it wanted to return to that huge tree. However, Luo Qingtong's aura tightly imprisoned it, making it unable to escape. Once it left its body, the heart of myriad trees had no protection at all. This is the heart of myriad trees? Luo Qingtong looked at the heart of myriad trees. It was a ball of lustrous green light, pulsing as if it had life force. She looked at Little Pig and asked, "Is this heart of myriad trees useful for Qianren?" Luo Qingtong had wanted to ask this before. If this heart of myriad trees was useful for Yi Qianxian, then she wouldn't use it. She would leave it for Yi Qianxian to heal his meridians. Chapter 17:17. Nope. Little Pig looked at the silver fox in Luo Qingtong's arms, who had calmed down after seeing that she was fine, and curled his lips. This man is so strong. A heart of myriad trees of this level is useless to him. The heavenly demon fox's blood essence core was only enough to extend his life for 3 years. What else could he say? The heavenly demon fox was a 9-life demon fox. A single drop of its blood was enough to extend an ordinary person's lifespan to 100 years old. Cultivators wanted to obtain its blood essence to refine life-prolonging pills. In the end, This man killed a heavenly demon fox and forced it to use the demon fox blood curse to deal with him. In the end, all the blood essence and core he obtained was only enough to extend his life for 3 years. Little Pig didn't want to say anything more. If this heart of myriad trees was given to him, it wouldn't even be enough to fill the gaps between his teeth. Yi Qianxian also softly grunted. He raised his paw and patted Luo Qingtong's hand, indicating that he didn't need it, and that she should use it herself. He naturally had Beiqing and Fengyu to help him keep an eye on the situation outside the realm. If there was something suitable for him to extend his life, they would immediately inform him. Luo Qingtong didn't need to worry about him. As for repairing his meridians, this heart of myriad trees was useless to him. Things like the 10,000-year divine wood might be useful to him. However, it was too difficult to find, and its effects were too short for him. There was no need for him to use it. Okay. Luo Qingtong nodded, understanding his meaning. Since this man couldn't use it, she would use it herself. Luo Qingtong raised her hand and put the heart of myriad trees into her mouth. This heart of myriad trees contained rich life energy. Not only could it help Luo Qingtong increase her strength, it was also a holy healing medicine. In just an instant, the bloody wounds on Luo Qingtong's body that were caused by the giant tree's branches all disappeared. The girl's skin was as lustrous as jade. In this lush forest, it seemed to be emitting a white light. Little Pig excitedly looked at Luo Qingtong, who was enveloped in a layer of green light. He was looking forward to seeing Luo Qingtong's strength increase again. Aya. If this continued, the time would not be far away. Ha ha ha. Just as it was feeling happy, it suddenly felt that something was wrong. Strange, as if something was staring at it. As it thought of this, it raised its head and met Yi Qianxian's cold and sinister eyes. Those eyes were filled with incomparable fury. Hey. Wait. Little Pig looked at the fury in Yi Qianxian's eyes in horror. Then he looked at Luo Qingtong's tattered clothes, which were torn by the branches. Suddenly, countless crows flew across his heart. Wait. That's not it. I wasn't peeking at her. I swear in the name of the sovereign of all beasts. Little Pig's cry was unusually miserable. While Luo Qingtong was eating the heart of myriad trees, Martial Uncle Zhang had also rushed out of the encirclement of the spirit-opening demon trees. He was in a sorry state from head to toe, even more sorry than when he was in the sea. He didn't expect there to be so many spirit-opening demon trees on this island. It was really impossible to defend against the attacks on his way here. Fortunately, he had already rushed out of the area where the spirit-opening demon trees were located. Luo Qingtong, that bitch, prepare to die. Chapter 17-18. Bitch. He roared and rushed over. However, just as he rushed into the forest valley, in an instant, all the wood spirits in the surroundings were awakened. The strength of these wood spirits was much stronger than those spirit-opening demon trees outside. At this moment, because this martial Uncle Zhang had barged into the myriad spirit-nurturing array, all the wood spirits in the surroundings surrounded him. One had to know that this martial Uncle Zhang did not have the ability to see through the array like Luo Qingtong. Naturally, he also did not know how to avoid being surrounded by these wood spirits. As for Luo Qingtong, because she was near the heart of the 1,000-year soul guiding wood, and at the same time, she was in the safe zone of the array, she was not affected at all. Those wood spirits did not pay attention to her at all, and were wholeheartedly focused on killing that martial Uncle Zhang. What? That martial Uncle Zhang saw Luo Qingtong here and rushed over in a fit of anger. He did not know that there was an array here. Who would have thought that Luo Qingtong was sitting here and was fine, but he was surrounded and killed the moment he came in? That martial Uncle Zhang was indescribably flustered and exasperated. At this moment, Luo Qingtong was trying her best to absorb and comprehend the power of the heart of myriad trees in her body. She could feel that martial Uncle Zhang had already barged in. However, with this myriad spirit nurturing array blocking, Luo Qingtong did not have to worry about him rushing in front of her for the time being. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The sound of waves washing away sand sounded in her body. Like rolling thunder, the power of the heart of myriad trees in her body was constantly spreading and filling. Luo Qingtong's body was filled with this kind of power. This was a combination of the essence of life, the beauty of creation, the brilliance of the sun and the moon. In an instant, this pure and rich power soaked into every part of Luo Qingtong's body. Blood, muscles, bones, meridians. Every inch of Luo Qingtong's body was filled with the essence of the heart of myriad trees. At the same time, in her mind, a surge of life essence rushed into her body, and she constantly comprehended the mysteries of the spiritual energy of heaven and earth around her. The power of the heart of myriad trees allowed her to communicate with the spiritual energy of heaven and earth without any hindrance. Luo Qingtong's soul was incomparably compatible with this piece of earth, heaven and earth, as well as the laws of heaven and earth's spiritual energy. She blended into the spirit qi, and felt its evolution between heaven and earth. All things in the world. Tao begets one, one begets two, two begets three, and three begets all things. All living things had transformed into spirits. Boom. The power within Luo Qingtong's body, along with her soul power, began to boil in an instant. Bang! Luo Qingtong's body suddenly emitted an explosive sound. Her aura surged from the inside out, and she instantly broke through to the saint realm. What? Martial Uncle Zhang, who was entangled with the wood spirit, suddenly raised his head and looked in the direction of Luo Qingtong. This woman she had broken through? In this secular world where spiritual qi was scarce, it was extremely difficult to break through to the saint realm. She actually made a breakthrough. Martial Uncle Zhang's eyes widened into round circles. In the next second he couldn't care about anything else. With a furious roar, he forcefully endured the attacks of the wood spirit and charged toward Luo Qingtong. Bitch. Die. He absolutely couldn't let her live. Otherwise, there would be no end of trouble. This time, it wasn't because he was afraid of Yi Qianxian, but because of the talent and strength that Luo Qingtong had displayed. Chapter 1719. Boom. Uncle Master Zhang's attack was immensely powerful. He ignored the attacks of the wood spirits and directly sent a palm strike towards Luo Qingtong. Bang! The aura from that palm strike was so powerful that it could topple mountains and overturn seas. That vast and boundless power directly smashed the few wood spirits that rushed out in front of him into pieces. At the same time, Uncle Master Zhang was also hit by the attacks of the other wood spirits. He spat out a mouthful of blood, but looked at where Luo Qingtong was with a big smile on his face. Haha, you're dead. He looked coldly at the attack heading towards Luo Qingtong, and was extremely pleased with himself. Once this woman was dead, he would take all the treasures on her body and take away all the heart of wood spirits. When that time came, he would return to the Breeze Pavilion and be incomparably glorious. This woman would rest eternally on this island. Uncle Master Zhang laughed loudly at the thought of this. However, at this moment, boom! At this moment, an attack flew over from the front and blasted the palm wind he blasted out. Bang! The two attacks collided in midair. In an instant, the force that shot out blasted the surrounding wood spirits and sent them flying backwards. Old dog, are you done laughing? Luo Qingtong's figure appeared behind the energy storm caused by the collision of the two attacks. She held the long sword in her hand horizontally, and her aura was boundless. She was already in the saint realm. Once one comprehended the power of the heart of wood, they could directly enter the saint realm. Luo Qingtong's strength had already broken through to the saint realm the moment Uncle Master Zhang attacked. In fact, even if she did not break through to the saint realm, just the power of Luo Qingtong and Yi Qianxian alone was enough to deal with Uncle Master Zhang. However, Luo Qingtong did not want to waste the medicinal effect of the heart of wood. At the same time, she did not want to give Uncle Master Zhang any chance to escape. Therefore, when Uncle Master Zhang rushed over to attack, she did not move. Instead, she chose to continue breaking through. Now he'd finally attained the saint realm. Surname Zhang, did you have fun chasing me just now? Luo Qingtong licked her lips. The corners of his lips curled up in a devilish smile. Don't worry, I'll make you feel even better later. When Luo Qingtong said this, Yi Qianxian suddenly frowned. He looked at Luo Qingtong. What did this woman say to make others feel better? Luo Qingtong didn't notice his gaze. At this moment, she was staring coldly in the direction of Senior Uncle Zhang. Then she raised her hand abruptly. Spirit nurturing array of all creation activate. Boom boom boom. Following Luo Qingtong's movement, the heart of the 1,000-year soul guiding wood in the center of the array shook violently. In an instant, the wood spirits in the array were controlled by the heart of the 1,000-year soul guiding wood. They spread out and surrounded Uncle Master Zhang in an instant. Luo Qingtong did not want to use these wood spirits to kill Uncle Master Zhang. She wanted to use them to stop him from escaping. It was time to settle the score with him for chasing her all the way here. You guys stay here. Take care of Qianren. Luo Qingtong placed Little Pig and Yi Qianxian in the center of the heart of the 1,000-year soul guiding wood. She ordered it to control a group of wood spirits to guard them. Then, with a flash of his body, he charged towards Senior Uncle Zhang. Chapter 1720. How arrogant. Don't think that I can't do anything to you just because you've broken through to the Saint Realm. Martial Uncle Zhang was indeed shocked when Luo Qingtong broke his attack. However, he saw that Luo Qingtong's power was only at the Saint Realm. Moreover, the majestic and vast aura that he felt from her body that didn't belong to her at all had disappeared. He immediately sneered. He didn't know that Luo Qingtong's power had all come from Yi Qianxian. He thought that Luo Qingtong had used too much power from that longsword and was restricted. After all, no matter how heaven-defying a longsword was, Luo Qingtong couldn't fully display its strength with her current strength. Even if she could use it, there must be a limit to the number of times she could use it. She probably thought that he didn't know. Martial Uncle Zhang thought so and immediately attacked Luo Qingtong with a sneer. He wanted to see what Luo Qingtong could do to him without the support of that mysterious power. It was simply a fantasy for a Saint Realm expert to fight a Saint Realm expert. However, just as he thought so, he suddenly saw Luo Qingtong smile at him. That smile was indescribably enchanting and evil. In the next second, Luo Qingtong raised the life and death yin-yang sword in her hand. Heaven seizing style. The life and death yin-yang sword in Luo Qingtong's hand instantly turned into the form of a death blade. The pitch-black longsword in Luo Qingtong's hand was like the scythe of the Grim Reaper. In an instant, it drew an extremely powerful and biting cold light, and sent Martial Uncle Zhang flying. What? The moment Junior Uncle Zhang was sent flying, he was completely dumbfounded. He could feel the terrifying light and aura emitted by the longsword in Luo Qingtong's hand. What was going on? He was shocked. The power of the other party's attack clearly didn't feel as vast and terrifying as before. How could she still release such a terrifying attack? This sword strike was enough to kill a Saint Realm expert. However, Luo Qingtong was clearly using her own power. What was going on? He didn't know that when the life and death yin-yang sword in Luo Qingtong's hand transformed, the life blade had already absorbed the abundant spiritual energy in the spirit breeding array, and then transformed it into the power of the death blade. The power that Luo Qingtong could unleash in this myriad spirit nurturing array was several times that of outside. Not to mention that she was using Yi Qianxian's unique move. When Luo Qingtong was still in the Saint Realm, with the power of the Saint King's soul in the heart of the 1,000-year soul tree, she could use heaven seizing style to kill. Not to mention that she was now. This strike was enough to send Martial Uncle Zhang, a Saint General, flying. The reason why he didn't use annihilation was because he didn't want his opponent to die so quickly. Was it necessary to kill her after chasing her all the way here? Today, she would let him know what it meant to doubt life. Heaven seizing style. The life and death yin-yang sword in Luo Qingtong's hand once again changed into the form of the life and death blade. Once again, it broke through the air and blasted towards Martial Uncle Zhang. Bang! Martial Uncle Zhang's figure was sent flying again. The defensive aura of a Saint Realm expert enveloping his body was shattered by Luo Qingtong's sword attack. The light of the death blade ruthlessly cut a bloody wound on his body. Chapter 1721. The death blade's corrosive effect of weakening the opponent's strength worked. Sensing the changes in his body, Martial Uncle Zhang's heart tightened fiercely. The strength displayed by Luo Qingtong was enough to shock him. The girl's attack was actually able to weaken his strength. If this continued, he would definitely die at her hands. Thinking of this, Martial Uncle Zhang's expression turned extremely ugly. He'd originally thought that Luo Qingtong was already his, and he'd been extremely complacent and belittling Luo Qingtong just now. He felt that her strength at the Saint Realm couldn't be compared with his at all. Only now did he realize how arrogant and ignorant he was. No, he had to leave this place as soon as possible. Otherwise he would really die here. Thinking of this, Martial Uncle Zhang did not dare to delay, and hurriedly wanted to escape. However, he was full of confidence just now and did not take Luo Qingtong seriously. Now that he wanted to leave, it was already too late. The myriad spirit nurturing array was activated, and the wood spirits had surrounded him. Under the control of the 1,000-year soul guiding wood, the wood spirits continued to encircle him, blocking his path of escape. At the same time, Luo Qingtong raised the life and death sword in her hand again. Boom! Beam after beam of sword light constantly blasted out from the life and death sword in her hand. The beams of light slammed into Martial Uncle Zhang, causing him to vomit blood and fly backward. At the same time, they also left bloody wounds on his body so deep that his bones could be seen. As Luo Qingtong left more and more wounds on his body, the power of the death blade also eroded and weakened Martial Uncle Zhang's strength more and more. This Martial Uncle Zhang had also tried to struggle. He desperately took pills to counteract the weakening effect of Luo Qingtong's death blade and heal the wounds on his body. However, the wounds and corrosion caused by the death blade could only be healed by the life force on the life blade. No matter how many pills he took, it was completely useless to him. As for Luo Qingtong, as long as she could break through the opponent's external defense and leave a wound on his body, then she could use the power of the death blade to completely grind the opponent to death. Bang! Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold. After weakening the strength of Masters Junior Zhang to a certain extent, she put away the life and death yin-yang sword in her hand. Then, with a flash, she appeared in front of Masters Junior Zhang. Crack! Luo Qingtong raised her hand and grabbed Martial Uncle Zhang's arm. After neutralizing the force of his attack, she pressed her palm down. In the blink of an eye, Martial Uncle Zhang's arm was bent at an extremely strange and terrifying angle. Eerie white bones mixed with flesh and blood protruded out. Martial Uncle Zhang's scream shook the heavens, but Luo Qingtong's eyes didn't change in the slightest. She had lived 2 lives. What she hated the most was being hunted down and coveted. But this Martial Uncle Zhang had both. Did they want her life and her treasures? Fine. As long as he had the life to take it. She offered it with both hands. Bang! After breaking all the bones of Martial Uncle Zhang's limbs, Luo Qingtong raised her foot and kicked Martial Uncle Zhang away with a boom. The blood-red light in her eyes surged uncontrollably. It was an extremely gorgeous and bloodthirsty light. Chapter 1722. She walked in front of Martial Uncle Zhang, and the blood in her eyes flickered intensely. Then, she stepped on him with an indifferent expression. Martial Uncle Zhang fell to the ground, and his 4 limbs were broken. He wriggled on the ground and screamed miserably. Luo Qingtong's foot landed on his back. In an instant, with a crack, his spine was broken. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. She moved her foot down and up, crushing all the bones in Martial Uncle Zhang's body. Martial Uncle Zhang's screams became even more mournful. Oh no! Seeing Luo Qingtong's abnormal state, Little Pig immediately realized that Luo Qingtong had lost control again. This Martial Uncle Zhang was so powerful. If Luo Qingtong hadn't thought of Bright Moon Island and obtained an opportunity there, who knew how long she would have been chased by him? Moreover, she might have aggravated Yi Qianxian's injuries. Under such circumstances, Luo Qingtong's anger towards Uncle Master Zhang was not small. Now that she had released it, she couldn't control herself. Hey, quick, bad news. Master, she's out of control. Quickly go and stop her. Seeing that Luo Qingtong's aura was becoming more and more bloodthirsty and cold, and her attacks were becoming more and more ruthless, Little Pig hurriedly raised his little hoof and poked Yi Qianren, who was beside him. There was no other way. At this moment, only this man could bring Luo Qingtong back to her senses. He had to take advantage of the fact that Luo Qingtong hadn't completely lost control and quickly stop her. Otherwise it would be too late. Yi Qianxian had also realized that Luo Qingtong's aura was abnormal. He didn't need Little Pig to say anything. Little Pig had already jumped out and ran toward Luo Qingtong. Kill. Luo Qingtong had already dealt with martial Uncle Zhang. The blood in her eyes became more and more intense. At this moment, Yi Qianxian jumped in front of her. Aolo. He opened his mouth and wanted to call her name, but what came out was the sound of a little fox. In an instant, Yi Qianming's face turned black. At this moment, Luo Qingtong also felt that there was another intruder around her. She subconsciously swung the life and death yin-yang sword in her hand. Almost instantly, she slashed at Yi Qianxian, who was charging toward her. Oh my god! When Little Pig saw this scene, he immediately raised his voice and barked. Master! He's Yi Qianxian's face. Yi Qianxian! It had forgotten that Yi Qianrun was in her silver fox form, so she couldn't speak. Yi. When Little Pig's words entered her ears, Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed. Her hand that was about to attack abruptly stopped. At this moment, Yi Qianxian threw himself at her. Unable to speak, he raised his head and kissed the girl. At the same time, the power in his body poured into Luo Qingtong's body. Luo Qingtong, wake up. Qian. When Yi Qianxian's power entered her body, Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed. In the next second, the blood in her eyes extinguished. She hugged the cute little fox in her arms tightly. At the same time, the attack that she had slashed towards Yi Qianren was completely retracted the moment it reached her opponent. Did I lose control? Luo Qingtong's voice was slightly hoarse. Although it was a question, her tone was very certain. Chapter 17:23. That's right. Little Pig dashed over at this moment, his face filled with lingering fear. You almost went on a killing spree just now. No one knew better than Little Pig how frightening Luo Qingtong was when she lost control. Most importantly, it wasn't time for her to appear in front of others yet. Fortunately, this woman lost control twice and had Yi Qianren by her side, suppressing her. Otherwise, it would be troublesome. Okay. Even if Little Pig didn't say it, Luo Qingtong knew what would happen if she lost control. Fortunately, Yi Qianxian woke her up. Luo Qingtong lowered her head and kissed the little fox in her arms. Then, she raised her head and looked around. Martial Uncle Zhang was completely dead. His body was lying not far from Luo Qingtong, and it didn't even look human anymore. Luo Qingtong glanced at him and walked past him. She looked at the fallen wood spirits on the ground. Many wood spirits had their bodies smashed in the battle with martial Uncle Zhang, revealing the wood spirit hearts inside. The wood spirit hearts floated in the air, emitting a rich aura of vitality. One of these wood spirit hearts was enough to create a future Saint Realm expert. Of course, that person's strength had to be above the martial ancestor realm. Otherwise, if their strength was too low, they wouldn't be able to advance so much and directly reach the Saint Realm, even if they consumed the wood spirit hearts. But even so, it was already good enough. After all, with the wood spirit hearts, the person who consumed them wouldn't have to worry about the bottleneck of reaching the Saint Realm. As long as they had enough strength, they would definitely be able to reach the Saint Realm in the future. It was only a matter of time. It could be said that if Luo Qingtong had all these wood spirit hearts in her hands, she would have an extremely powerful Saint Realm army under her command in the future. Luo Qingtong's lips curled up slightly. Very good. With these wood spirit hearts, Suyu Tianxia and the others wouldn't have to worry about their strength. Let's go. Let's take all these wood spirit hearts. Luo Qingtong said as she leaped up. Bang bang bang. She swung the life and death yin-yang sword in her hand. Because these wood spirits were suppressed by the heart of the 1,000-year-old soul guiding tree, they were immediately bound and unable to move within the array. They were also unable to resist Luo Qingtong's attacks. In an instant, one by one, the wood spirits fell under Luo Qingtong's sword. Behind her, Little Pig had a trash ring on each of its hooves. It was constantly collecting the wood spirit hearts that were revealed from the wood spirits that Luo Qingtong had slashed apart. It was extremely busy. Its eyes glowed, and its 4 little hooves waved continuously. As it collected, it cried out, "Aya, aya, I'm rich." Luo Qingtong's lips twitched when she saw his money grubber's smug look. Sometimes she would wonder if this pig was really an ancient mythical beast. It didn't have the slightest bit of a divine beast's aloofness and dignity. If it wasn't for the fact that it had once revealed its true form, and was quite reliable at critical moments, Luo Qingtong wouldn't be willing to believe that it was an ancient mythical beast. While Luo Qingtong and the others were collecting the wood spirit hearts from the myriad spirit breeding array, Beiqing, Fengyu, and the others had already found this bright moon island by following the weak connection between them and Yi Qianxian. In fact, they had thought of the existence of this bright moon island. If Luo Qingtong was really in danger, she would probably rush here. Therefore, they decided to try their luck here. Otherwise, they really wouldn't know how to find Luo Qingtong and the others in this vast sea. Chapter 1724. Evil Doctor. The group rushed to the bright moon island. The mutant creatures in the sea and the spirit-opening demon wood on the island were no obstacles to them at all. They went straight in and appeared directly in front of Luo Qingtong and Yi Qianxian. Your subordinates have arrived late. Please forgive us, Master and the Evil Doctor. They broke into the array of all living things. At this moment, all the wood spirits in the array had been killed by Luo Qingtong. The wood spirit hearts were all taken by Little Pig. The array of all living things was broken by itself. Beiqing and Fengyu did not encounter any attacks. The group of people knelt down in front of Luo Qingtong. Their eyes swept across the surroundings, and they were shocked. Especially when he saw Marshal Uncle Zhang's corpse, he was indescribably shocked. A saint general was actually killed by the evil physician just like that? Their faces were shocked, but Luo Qingtong's heart was calm. She hummed softly and did not say anything. In the vast sea, it was good enough that Beiqing and Fengyu could find them. After all, she and Yi Qianming did not know where they were sent. How could they find them? They were not to blame for this. Luo Qingtong walked to the center of the array of all living things. There, the bud of the 1,000-year soul-guiding wood was waving at Luo Qingtong intimately. When Luo Qingtong stretched out her hand, it rubbed against Luo Qingtong's palm enthusiastically. It looked very cute. Yes, the 1,000-year soul-guiding wood's heart had broken through the soil and sprouted under the stimulation of the array of all living things. At this moment, the two tender green leaves looked especially fresh and green. Luo Qingtong looked at the small bud and raised her hand to dig it up. This myriad spirit-nurturing array had been broken, and the heart of the 1,000-year-old soul-guiding tree was useless here. Luo Qingtong naturally wanted to take it away. It could still be of use in the future. When Luo Qingtong dug up the 1,000-year soul-guiding wood sprout, Little Pig suddenly exclaimed in surprise. If that's not right, why doesn't it look like the Millennium soul-guiding wood? Little Pig muttered as he looked at the tiny sprout. Inexplicably, this sprout gave it a very strange feeling. This aura didn't seem like the 1,000-year soul-guiding wood, but more like the aura of the ancient heavenly spirit wood. Little Pig's eyes widened as he stared at the little sprout. His heart was filled with curiosity. That's impossible. Luo Qingtong had clearly taken the Millennium soul-guiding wood before. Why did its aura change after it sprouted? After all, the 1,000-year soul-guiding wood and the ancient heavenly spirit wood weren't on the same level. Although they were both related to the power of the soul, the ancient heavenly spirit wood was a divine wood. Even if the 1,000-year soul-guiding wood grew to 100,000 years, or even 1,000,000 years old, it was still an ordinary wood. At best, it could reach the level of a spirit wood. It couldn't go any higher. But now it had completely transformed. What's going on? This can't be the effect of this myriad spirit-nurturing array. Little Pig's heart was filled with disbelief. However, Luo Qingtong didn't pay much attention to it. This little sprout was indeed born from the 1,000-year soul-guiding wood's heart. It would be a good thing if it had transformed. She put it away and prepared to study it in the future. How's the situation on Sea Emperor Island? She looked at Fengyu and the others. Has everyone been eliminated? Are Little Lucky and the others okay? Chapter 1725. Upon hearing this, Beiqing, Fengyu, and the others' expressions changed slightly. When they discovered that Luo Qingtong and Yi Qianxian's aura had disappeared, they immediately chased after them. They had no idea what had happened on Sea Emperor Island. Evil doctor, The group looked at each other. As for Luo Qingtong, she seemed to have realized something from their conversation, and her eyes narrowed. Didn't you come to find me and Qian Run after settling the matter on Sea Emperor Island? Luo Qingtong thought that Bei Qing, Feng Yu, and the others only found out that something had happened to her and Yi Qianxian after discovering that something had happened on Sea Emperor Island. Was that not the case? No. Bei Qing, Feng Yu, and the others answered honestly. After you and Master's aura disappeared, we sensed that something was wrong, and immediately chased after you. Before they could finish speaking, Luo Qingtong's figure had already rushed out. She had to rush back to Sea Emperor Island immediately. Swoosh! When Luo Qingtong's figure rushed out of Bright Moon Island, the third princess of the Sea Emperor looked in the direction of the forbidden area in front of her with a sullen expression. Damn it! They actually managed to escape. She had led the people of the Breeze Pavilion, and thought that they could catch the Sea Emperor and the others in one fell swoop. In fact, the elders had all died in their hands. Only a few people, the Sea Emperor, Huang Fuxi and the others were left. Under such circumstances, the Sea Emperor and the others were like turtles in a jar. Who would have thought that the Sea Emperor would actually use all of his strength and life force as a sacrifice, borrowing the energy fluctuations of the great clan elder, and the others who had successfully opened the forbidden area to forcefully break open the protection of the forbidden area. At this moment, the group of people was hiding in the forbidden area. They couldn't do anything to them at all. The third princess of the Sea Emperor's expression was ugly, but soon she sneered again. I'll let you hide here and see how long the Sea Emperor's life force and strength can hold on. When he dies, you will still be expelled from the forbidden area. Such a one-sided sacrifice to forcefully open the forbidden area was simply not a long-term solution. She was waiting to see when Huang Fuxi and the others would be thrown out of the forbidden grounds to die. The third princess sneered as she turned around and left. Huang Fuxi and the others were dead for sure. However, before that, she had to take control of the Sea Emperor Dragon Court. Once she became the Sea Empress of the entire Sea Emperor Dragon Court, and took control of all the defensive spell formations on the Sea Emperor Island, Huang Fuxi and the others would have no chance of turning the tables. As long as they came out of the Forbidden Land, the third princess of the Sea God Emperor would be able to control the entire Sea God Island's defenses and kill them without the need for the Breeze Pavilion's people to do anything. As long as they were on Ocean Emperor Island, it would be impossible for them to escape death. In fact, if it weren't for the fact that the Sea Emperor and the others had gathered in the forbidden area for the sake of Luo Qingtong, the third princess of the Sea Emperor wouldn't have been able to find a good opportunity to attack them. After all, as long as the Ocean Emperor was given enough time, he would be able to control the defenses of the entire Ocean Emperor Island to attack. At that time, it was inevitable that they would escape. But now they had no chance at all. The third princess of the Sea Emperor left a few people to guard the area, and then went out to suppress the people of the Sea Emperor Dragon Court. Everyone who obeyed her would live, and those who disobeyed her would die. Under the suppression of the Breeze Pavilion's people, the people of the Sea Emperor Dragon Court couldn't resist at all, and could only submit. Chapter 1726. At night, a figure suddenly appeared in the sky above Sea Emperor Island. Demonic Doctor. When that figure appeared, many other figures also tore through the sky and arrived. Bei Qing, Feng Yu, and the others appeared beside Luo Qingtong with guilty expressions. They had just heard about what happened on Sea Emperor Island. The third princess of the Sea Emperor had regained her position with the help of the Breeze Pavilion. However, the Sea Emperor, Sea Empress, Huang Fuxi, and the others were nowhere to be found. No one knew if they had been killed. Everyone felt very guilty. If only they had left a group of people on Sea Emperor Island. That way, nothing would have happened to the Sea Emperor and the others. However, they had been too anxious about their master's safety and had not thought of this. If something had happened to the Sea Emperor, Sea Empress, and Huang Fuxi, the demonic doctor would feel very bad. They looked at Luo Qingtong and saw that her expression was very cold. Ow! Yi Qianxian let out a soft cry. He hated the way he looked like a little fox. If it wasn't necessary, he definitely wouldn't open his mouth. But now he spoke to make Luo Qingtong happy. The Sea Emperor and the others might not be in danger. He raised his paw and patted the back of Luo Qingtong's hand to comfort her. Yes, I know. Luo Qingtong lowered her head and rubbed against him. She felt Yi Qianxian's comfort and the coldness in her heart dissipated. Demonic Doctor, we have already found out that the third princess of the Sea Emperor will hold the coronation ceremony in front of the Sea Emperor's statue tomorrow morning. Then, she will completely control the entire Sea Emperor's royal court and Sea Emperor Island. Should we immediately attack and kill her and the people of the Breeze Pavilion? Bei Qing, Feng Yu, and the others were full of murderous intent. They naturally had to make up for the mistakes they had made. The third princess of the Sea Emperor and the people of the Breeze Pavilion could not escape. No need. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. She raised her head and looked sharply in the direction of the Sea Emperor's royal court palace. Just let them live a little longer. Let's go to the Sea Emperor's forbidden area. Luo Qingtong could sense that little Lucky and the others should be fine. Given the temperament of the third princess of the Sea Emperor, if the Sea Emperor and the others really died in her hands, she would definitely hang the corpse up for public display. Firstly, he wanted to vent his anger. Secondly, he wanted to intimidate. Since she had not done so, it meant that little Lucky and the others were still alive. Moreover, the third princess of the sea was helpless against them for the time being. Luo Qingtong immediately thought of the Sea Emperor's forbidden area. If her guess was correct, little Lucky and the others should be in the forbidden area. Since that was the case, he would wait for little Lucky and the others to come out before taking his revenge. At that time, the expressions of the third princess of the Sea Emperor and the others would definitely be very interesting. Go! Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold, and she took the lead to rush in the direction of Sea Emperor's forbidden area. Bei Qing and Feng Yu didn't ask any questions, and just followed behind Luo Qingtong. It was up to the evil doctors to decide what to do. They only needed to carry it out. The group rushed in the direction of Sea Emperor's forbidden area. In Sea Emperor's forbidden area, Huang Fuxi looked at the Sea Emperor, who was getting thinner and thinner. His aura was incomparably weak, and he was still getting weaker. His heart was filled with indescribable grief. Father. He choked with sobs. Don't do this again. Let's go out together. Even if I die, I want to die with you and Mother. He threw himself into the Sea Emperor's arms and choked with sobs. Chapter 1727. That's right. Even if the Sea Emperor consumed his life force and energy, there was a limit to how long he could last. At that time, once he died, they would be expelled from the Sea Emperor's forbidden land. They would not be able to escape death. They might as well go out now and die together. Otherwise, the Sea Emperor's strength and life force would be wasted. The Sea Empress' eyes were also red. Tears fell like water droplets, but she did not say anything. They had been husband and wife for decades. She knew what the Sea Emperor was persevering for. Cough cough. Silly child. The Sea Emperor raised his hand and patted Huang Fuxi's head. Father, you have to do this. He looked at Huang Fuxi and asked, do you believe that something will happen to Miss Tong? No. Huang Fuxi shook his head with red eyes. That's right. Cough cough. Father doesn't want to believe it either. So he was taking a gamble. He was betting that Luo Qingtong might be able to rush back. He was betting that something would not happen to her so easily. If he made the wrong bet, he would admit defeat. But if he made the right bet, his wife and son would have a better chance of survival if he could hold on for even a moment longer. Why didn't he do that? Even if he had to sacrifice his life, he would gladly do it. Father. Huang Fuxi's voice choked up even more. At this moment, bam! Outside the forbidden area, a series of violent explosions suddenly sounded. Who is it? The guards of the Sea Emperor's dragon court who were guarding the forbidden area were all shocked. They looked in the direction of the sound. In the next second, an extremely dazzling and terrifying sword aura swept out in front of them. In an instant, the entire space was lit up. Everyone who stood in front of this sword light was annihilated by this sword light. Bam! 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 Their bodies exploded in an instant. They did not even have time to scream. When this sword aura swept out, a figure also swept into this space. Kill them all. Luo Qingtong's voice was cold. She floated in the air with a long sword in her hand. Her red robe was as bright as the sun and as red as a fiery lotus. Her beautiful face was filled with an icy coldness. Yes. Bei Qing, Feng Yu, and the others had already released their auras, completely enveloping this space. No matter what kind of movement it was impossible for it to spread out at this time. Under Luo Qingtong's command, they rushed out and killed the remaining Sea Emperor's Dragon Court members in an instant. The latter and the others were terrified to the extreme. When Luo Qingtong appeared, they had already recognized her. She was the girl who had a grudge against the third princess of the Sea Emperor. Not only that, but the strength of the group of people following them was simply terrifying. The group had witnessed the strength of the Breeze Pavilion. In their eyes, that was already extremely powerful. But at this moment, in front of the people brought by Luo Qingtong, the strength of those people from the Breeze Pavilion was not worth mentioning at all. Oh no, what kind of enemy did they provoke? The people of the Breeze Pavilion were already rare experts from the sects in the hidden world. Could it be that this foreign girl's background was even more powerful than theirs? Everyone was shocked to the extreme. They wanted to warn the others, but before they could do anything, they were all killed by Bei Qing, Feng Yu, and the others. Bam, bam, bam. Chapter 1728. Translations. As if realizing something, the Sea Emperor's heart was filled with excitement. His face, which was like a lamp that had run out of oil and looked extremely defeated, instantly became rosy. Whoosh! He used all his strength to release a ray of light. In the blink of an eye, the scene of the forbidden area outside was revealed to them. Huang Fushi immediately cried out, "Big sister!" He looked at the beautiful and domineering girl standing outside with a sword in her hand, and tears flowed uncontrollably from his eyes. Big sister is here, this is great. Nothing will happen to him, his parents, and the others. Big sister. The Sea Emperor cancelled his sacrifice. In the blink of an eye, the group of people appeared outside the forbidden area. Huang Fushi immediately threw himself at Luo Qingtong and hugged her tightly, choking with sobs. Big sister saved him again. Not only that, but she also saved his parents. Big sister, it's great that you're here. I thought I would never see you again. His voice was choked with sobs. It's okay now. Luo Qingtong patted him lightly when she felt the young man's body trembling slightly. After going through so many unforeseen events at once, the little fellow had done quite well. She looked at the pale and defeated Sea Emperor, whose aura was incomparably weak. She roughly knew what had happened. The forbidden area couldn't be opened casually. When the Sea Emperor wanted to send her and Yi Qianxian into the forbidden area, he needed the cooperation of several elders. He must have paid an extremely heavy price to open the forbidden area on his own. Huang Fushi witnessed all this with his own eyes, and he must have been greatly shocked and frightened. After all, this kind of separation was not something anyone could bear. Sea Emperor, Sea Empress elders. Luo Qingtong nodded at them. This incident happened because of me. I will do my best to eliminate everything in the Sea Emperor's Dragon Court. I will kill the third princess and the people from the Breeze Pavilion. When the time comes, please bear witness to everything. Also, I am willing to form an alliance with the Sea Emperor's Dragon Court. In the future, anyone who dares to go against the Sea Emperor's Dragon Court will be my enemy. Heaven and earth bear witness to this oath. Luo Qingtong made a solemn promise. She was the main reason behind the massive upheaval in the Sea Emperor's Dragon Court. The entire Sea Emperor Dragon Court had been severely wounded, and it was inevitable that there would be people who would try to take advantage of the situation in the future. Luo Qingtong would never sit idly by. Thank you, evil doctor. The Sea Emperor's face was pale and weak. After persevering for so many days, his life force and strength were almost exhausted. Fortunately, Luo Qingtong came in time. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to hold on for another day. Our Sea Emperor's Dragon Court deserves this calamity. The third princess of the Sea Emperor is such a vile creature, and the heretic physician was almost put in danger. I feel extremely guilty." As he spoke, he couldn't help but cough twice. His complexion turned even paler. "Father!" Huang Fushi couldn't help but rush to his side as tears streamed down his face again. Cough cough. "Shier, the Sea Emperor's dragon court will be under your control from now on. You can't cry so easily, understand?" The Sea Emperor looked at Huang Fushi. His life force and strength had been severely depleted, and there was no way he could lead the Sea Emperor's dragon court. Chapter 1729. I understand, father. Huang Fushi looked at the weak voice of the Sea Emperor and forced back the tears in his eyes. "Imperial father, I will never cry again. Nothing will happen to you. Father, you will be fine." The Sea Emperor coughed softly, then looked at Luo Qingtong and said, "Evil doctor, I want to pass on my lifetime of strength and understanding to Shi, or through the secret inheritance technique of the Sea Emperor's dragon court. Please protect me." This was a secret inheritance technique that only the Sea Emperors of each generation knew. As long as it was a normal succession, the Sea Emperor would receive the inheritance of the previous Sea Emperor. The person who received the inheritance would have their strength greatly increased. At the same time, they would also receive the cultivation experience and understanding of the previous Sea Emperor. In the future, they would be able to take fewer detours and have almost no bottlenecks. The Sea Emperor was going to pass on this inheritance to Huang Fushi. When he was in the Forbidden Grounds, he had already heard from the people of the Sea Emperor's dragon court that the third princess of the Sea Emperor would ascend the throne tomorrow. He could not let her steal the Sea Emperor's position. The Sea Emperor's dragon court's matters should be settled by the people of the Sea Emperor's dragon court. Huang Fushi must obtain the Sea Emperor's position himself. Otherwise, he would not be worthy of being the king of the Sea Emperor's dragon court. Okay. Luo Qingtong nodded. She roughly understood the Sea Emperor's thoughts and did not say much. She only asked Bei Qing, Feng Yu, and the others to protect them and not let anyone disturb their inheritance. Seeing this, the Sea Emperor was relieved and began to pass on the inheritance to Huang Fushi. In the palace of the Sea Emperor's dragon court, the third princess, Song Yan, and the others were proud. "Miss Song, don't worry. After I inherit the Sea Emperor's position tomorrow, I will erase all information about that foreign slut from the northern region. No one will know how she died. No one will link it to you." The third princess of the Sea Emperor sat on the Sea Emperor's chair with a proud expression. After tomorrow, she would be the true ruler of the northern region. The cause of Luo Qingtong's death would be completely erased from the northern region. No one would know how she died. And no one would be able to avenge her. That woman, just wait to die with everlasting regret. Also, the little fox that the man in her hands had turned into would also fall into his hands. When she thought of Yi Qianxian's handsome face and the demon clan's secret techniques, the smug look on the third princess' face became even more pronounced. Not only did that B*TCH die miserably, her man would also become her man. He wondered how much despair and unwillingness she must be feeling down there. It was a pity that he couldn't see such a scene. When the third princess of the sea spoke, Song Yan felt extremely pleased with herself. Luo Qingtong had offended her several times before, and then she had beaten her up into Qi's holy capital. Now she had finally gotten her revenge. By the time the third princess of the Sea Emperor erased all information about her in the northern region, even if that Ming Zun of the Black Field was extremely powerful, he wouldn't be able to find out how she died, let alone avenge her. The more Song Yan thought about it, the more pleased she felt. A little girl from the true Spill Continent's mortal world actually wanted to compete with her for senior apprentice brother Falling Moon? She really didn't know how she died. Chapter 1730. It was just a few casual provocations, but Uncle Master Zhang was already enraged by her. At this moment, she probably didn't know how Martial Uncle Zhang was torturing her. Otherwise, why would Uncle Master Zhang not return until now? Song Yan felt even more smug at the thought of this. Alright, then I'll thank the third princess first. If nothing goes wrong, Uncle Master Zhang should be back with that woman's body tomorrow. Then, take it as a congratulatory gift for your ascension to the throne, third princess. What do you think? She smiled at the third princess of the Sea Emperor. Of course, that would be great. The third princess of the Sea Emperor smiled coldly. I'll send people to prepare a large number of sea beasts. Then we'll chop up that bitch's body and feed it to them. It's a pity. The smile on her lips became even colder and more venomous. The people of the Breeze Pavilion must kill her. Otherwise, bring her back alive and torture her in every possible way. That's a good idea. Don't worry. Even if we don't bring her back, I'm afraid the torture she'll suffer will not be light. Song Yin looked very pleased. How angry was Uncle Master Zhang? How could Luo Qingtong be well after falling into his hands? The body that he brought back tomorrow would probably be unrecognizable and completely deformed. As the two of them spoke, they looked at each other and smiled. There was an indescribable viciousness in the depths of their eyes. The next day, tens of thousands of people gathered at the square where the statue of the Sea Emperor was. Everyone on the Sea Emperor Island was gathered at the square that was usually used for ceremonies. They watched as the third princess of the Sea Emperor dressed in splendid attire and prepared to accept the recognition of the statue of the Sea Emperor to inherit the throne. Once the Sea Emperor succession ceremony was started, the statue of the Sea Emperor would select the one with the purest bloodline and the best talent to inherit the throne of the Sea Emperor in this generation. After inheriting the throne of the Sea Emperor would be able to take control of all islands in the northern region that had statues of the Sea Emperor. From then on, the power of the Sea Emperor would shift. The person who gained control of the Sea Emperor's dragon court would be the real Sea Emperor. He would be able to command the entire Sea Emperor's dragon court and the northern region. The previous Sea Emperor would automatically abdicate. Because of this unique method of succession, every generation of the Sea Emperor's position was filled with bloodshed. Every direct descendant wanted to ascend the throne. Not every direct descendant of the Sea Emperor could successfully become the Sea Emperor. The loser would never be able to make a comeback. The only exceptions were the third princess and the first prince. And now, they had successfully made use of this exception to turn things around. The third princess of the Sea Emperor proudly walked on the path leading to the statue of the Sea Emperor. At this time, in the Forbidden Area, the Sea Emperor and Huangfu, she had also completed their inheritance. Cough cough. The Sea Emperor's face turned even paler. He had lost all his strength and was reduced to an ordinary person. All of his strength and comprehension were passed on to Huangfu Shi. The latter's aura surged, and the power around his body was majestic. He had already reached the Saint Realm. This was the Sea Emperor's reward for Huangfu Shi, at the cost of not being able to cultivate or possess power in the future. He held Huangfu Shi's hand tightly. Clean up the Sea Emperor Dragon Court for my father, and inherit the throne of the Sea Emperor. Chapter 1731. He was no longer the young boy who would only hug Luo Qingtong and cry when he was in danger. During this period of time, he had grown a lot in the Sea Emperor's dragon court. And this life and death crisis made him mature even more. He looked at Luo Qingtong, his jade-white face full of determination. Sister. His voice was hoarse from crying. Let's go. He wanted the third princess of the Sea Emperor to pay the price for everything she had done. Okay. Luo Qingtong looked at him and nodded. The young boy had matured thoroughly in this unforeseen event. His innocence and kindness were all hidden in the corners, and they were all aimed at the enemy. This was good. When it was time to be kind, he was kind, and when it was time to be ruthless, he was ruthless. My sharp claws can kill when I open them, but when I retract them, they are soft. This was the best way to live. It was also the posture of a true ruler. Let's go, sister will take you to revenge. Luo Qingtong's eyes were sharp, and she looked in the direction of the Sea Emperor Island Square. That was the place where the third princess of the Sea Emperor's coronation ceremony was held. You two stay here and guard. The rest of you, come with me to the Sea Emperor statue square. Luo Qingtong's voice was slightly low. Previously, when the Sea Emperor withdrew his sacrifice and was expelled from the Forbidden Grounds, She took the opportunity to send Yi Qianren in. Now Luo Qingtong was relieved to leave Beiqing and Feng Yu, two people who had a special connection with Yi Qianxian here. The others all went with her to the Sea Emperor statue square. She wanted the third princess of the Sea Emperor and the people of the Breeze Pavilion. None of them could escape. Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold, and she took the lead to rush out with Huang Fuxi. The others from the Black Field followed behind her, bringing along the Sea Emperor, the Sea Empress, and the others. In an instant, the group of people left the forbidden area of the Sea Emperor and headed towards the square where the statue of the Sea Emperor was. On the plaza of the Sea Emperor's statue, the surrounding adepts danced and danced, using the unique ritual dance of the Sea Emperor's royal court to awaken the remnant consciousness of the first Sea Emperor within the statue. The entire Sea Emperor's dragon court, and even the Sea Emperor Island would only be under the control of the successor. And that person was the new Ocean Emperor. Buzz. As the wizards danced, unique energy fluctuations continuously entered the statue of the Sea Emperor. Soon, the statue of the Sea Emperor began to tremble faintly. In the next second, its eyes lit up. A faintly discernible consciousness power awoke from its body. At this moment, the entire statue of the Emperor of the Sea seemed to have come alive. Sea Emperor. Seeing the movement of the statue of the Sea Emperor, many people in the square cheered loudly in an instant. That voice was filled with indescribable fanaticism. The third princess of the Sea Emperor also looked at the statue of the Sea Emperor with a scorching and proud gaze. Sea Emperor, please choose the successor of the Sea Emperor. The surrounding adepts had already stopped dancing. At this moment, the great wizard in the lead waved his hand. In the next second, a ray of light suddenly shot out from the statue of the Sea Emperor, sweeping across the crowd of direct descendants of the Sea Emperor's royal court in the square. The third princess of the Sea Emperor's face was filled with pride. Among this generation of direct descendants of the Sea Emperor's royal court, her bloodline was the purest, and the talent she had awakened was not bad. She would be the only candidate for the Sea Emperor. Chapter 1732. After the ray of light swept through all the people who were suitable to inherit the throne, it stopped on the third princess of the Sea Emperor. Buzz. The ray of light that shot out from the statue of the Sea Emperor was faintly trembling. Seeing this scene, the third princess of the sea revealed a proud and complacent smile. From now on, I'm the new Sea Emperor. Who said so? As her voice rang out, another voice that was incomparably cold rang out at this moment. I'm the real Sea Emperor. Swoosh. When this voice sounded, the light that was originally fixed on the third princess of the Sea Emperor's body suddenly moved in the direction of the voice. Buzz. After the ray of light was fixed there, it suddenly trembled. The frequency was much stronger than when it was fixed on the third princess of the Sea Emperor. The trembling voice sounded like it was cheering. Indeed, there was no harm without comparison. Compared to the frequency of the trembling that was close to cheering, the third princess of the Sea Emperor's trembling voice sounded like she was going to heaven. She looked like a clown, and her words of "she will be the emperor of the seas from now on" sounded like a joke to her. It's you, Huang Fuxi. When the voice sounded, the third princess of the Sea Emperor suddenly turned around and saw the young man who walked out of the crowd. Beside Huang Fuxi, there was also a beautiful young girl who was walking slowly towards them. The pupils of the third princess of the Sea Emperor instantly shrank. This foreign slut didn't die? Did she help Huang Fuxi? Huang Fuxi was supposed to be in the forbidden area. Even if he came out, he would be dead. He was destined to be surrounded and killed by the people she left there. When she saw Luo Qingtong next to him, how could the third princess of the Sea Emperor not understand what happened? She couldn't understand how Luo Qingtong escaped from Senior Uncle Zhang's hands. Damn it! That person from the Breeze Pavilion said he was a holy general. How could he not be able to deal with this slut? Or could it be that the little fox beside this slut had helped her? The third princess of the Sea Emperor glanced at Luo Qingtong, but didn't see Yi Qianxian. She immediately confirmed her guess. In an instant, she gritted her teeth and her eyes turned red with jealousy. In her opinion, Yi Qianxian must have used some extremely powerful secret technique of the demon race to help Luo Qingtong. even at the cost of his own life. That was how the latter managed to escape the pursuit of that martial Uncle Zhang. How could this woman be so lucky? That man was so handsome and valiant. And he also had the pure bloodline of the demon clan. Yet he was willing to do anything for her. The third princess gritted her teeth as she glared at Luo Qingtong. Then she sneered. It was a pity that this woman was so stupid that she actually dared to come back and throw away her life. She probably thought that after saving Huang Fuxi and helping him become the Sea Emperor, she would be able to deal with her. Unfortunately, she didn't know that even if Huang Fuxi was recognized by the statue of the Sea Emperor, it would still take him at least 15 minutes to integrate the control of all the islands of the Sea Emperor's dragon court that the statue of the Sea Emperor had transferred to him. This period of time was enough for her to kill them all. Chapter 1733. She raised her finger and pointed at Luo Qingtong and Huang Fuxi. Huang Fuxi was completely enveloped by the light of the sea god statue and was beginning to accept the control of the statue. Rays of light were transmitted from the statue to his body. Seeing this scene, those who had taken the initiative to seek refuge with the third princess of the Sea Emperor immediately rushed over. As for those who were forced to submit to the third princess of the Sea Emperor, although they wanted to help Luo Qingtong and Huang Fuxi, they didn't dare to act rashly when they saw the people from the Breeze Pavilion on the high platform not far away. The people from the Breeze Pavilion are too strong. Sai, the little prince, can't defeat them. Everyone looked at Huang Fuxi, who was enveloped by the light of the sea god statue, and felt despair. It would be fine if the people from the Breeze Pavilion were not on the Sea Emperor Island. With their strength, they could fight against the third princess and protect Huang Fuxi so that he could succeed in becoming the Sea Emperor. But they could feel the layers of power surrounding them. And they couldn't move at all. On the high platform not far away, Song Yan and the people from the Breeze Pavilion gritted their teeth when they saw Luo Qingtong and Huang Fuxi appear. What's going on? She looked in the direction of Luo Qingtong. How is this woman not dead? What is Uncle Master Zhang doing? Song Yan gritted her teeth, but her expression soon relaxed. Humph, it's good that she's not dead. Although I don't know how she escaped from Uncle Master Zhang. She was stupid enough to come to the Sea Emperor Island and walk right into our trap, Song Yan sneered. She probably thought that Uncle Master Zhang was the only one from the Breeze Pavilion who came to kill her. She thought that she could come back and save the people from the Sea Emperor Dragon Court after she got rid of Uncle Master Zhang? What a joke. I'll see how you die later. Song Yan ordered the people from the Breeze Pavilion to intimidate the people from the Sea Emperor Dragon Court. Luo Qingtong did not want to take the road to heaven, but instead chose to barge into hell. She was waiting to see how the third princess of the Sea Emperor would torture her to death. He thought of the group of sea beasts prepared by the third princess of the sea god. She sneered in her heart. Later, Luo Qingtong would be able to enjoy the taste specially prepared for her. She sat on a large wooden chair with a content expression as she watched the members of the Sea Emperor Dragon Court rush toward Luo Qingtong. She was prepared to watch a good show. However, kill them all. Seeing the people from the Sea Emperor Dragon Court rushing over, Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. She didn't even look at them as she spoke coldly. Her voice sounded, and in the next second, bang bang bang. In an instant, the people from the Sea Emperor Dragon Court who were charging towards Luo Qingtong and Huang Fuxi all exploded in mid-air. The figures of the Black Field members were revealed. At the same time, Luo Qingtong's figure flew up. Protect little Lucky. As soon as she finished speaking, she appeared in front of the third princess. The latter was stunned and had no idea what was going on. How did this foreign slut have so many powerful cultivators by her side? The third princess of the Sea Emperor had never fought against Luo Qingtong before, so she naturally didn't know that there were so many people protecting her. Moreover, they were so strong. Chapter 1734. Just as the third princess of the Sea Empire was thinking about this, Luo Qingtong had already sent her flying with a slap. Luo Qingtong's strength had already risen to the Saint Realm. This slap instantly sent the third princess of the Sea Empire tumbling over a dozen times in the air before crashing heavily onto the ground. The third princess of the Sea Empire lay on the ground, constantly vomiting blood. Her mouth was filled with blood and teeth. If Luo Qingtong had not promised Huang Fujin that she would leave her for him to deal with, the third princess of the Sea Empire would have been slapped to death by Luo Qingtong. Luo Qingtong's gaze was cold. Her gaze swept past the third princess of the Sea Empire, who was lying on the ground vomiting blood before finally fainting completely. She then raised her eyes to look at Song Yan and the others in the spectator stands. What? The smug look on Song Yan's face completely disappeared at this moment. She looked at Luo Qingtong, who was dressed in fiery red, standing in the square. Then, she looked at the group of people from the Black Field, surrounding Huang Fujin. Her heart was filled with disbelief. How could this be? This woman's strength had already reached the Saint Realm. Not only that, but the people around her were not any weaker than the people from the Breeze Pavilion. How could this be? How could this woman have such a strong force by her side? She could not believe it. Song Yan's face was distorted. The people from the Breeze Pavilion beside her were also in disbelief. No, junior sister, we have to leave this place immediately. As they spoke, they hurriedly tried to take Song Yan away. However, it was too late. Bloody cross slash. Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold as she watched the people from the Breeze Pavilion dash out. She threw away the handkerchief she used to wipe her hands with, and raised her hand to launch a wild attack. Hundreds of meters away, the life and death sword in Luo Qingtong's hand instantly transformed into the shape of a death blade. In the next second, streaks of bloody light mixed with the black aura of the death blade swept out in an instant and blasted towards the people from the Breeze Pavilion in front of her. None of them had expected Luo Qingtong to be able to unleash such an attack. The bloody cross slash was originally a martial technique of the Saint Realm. With Luo Qingtong's current strength, she was able to fully display its might. In addition to the effect of the death blade in her hand, she was like the Grim Reaper reaping the lives of the Breeze Pavilion members in front of her. These people from the Breeze Pavilion thought that Luo Qingtong was the only one who could stop them. He didn't expect Luo Qingtong's attack to be so sharp. In an instant, the bodies of the people from the Breeze Pavilion, who were carrying Song Yan forward, suddenly fell to the ground under the light of Luo Qingtong's blood-colored cross. Not only that, but some of the weaker ones had their bodies chopped into several pieces in mid-air. Not for anything else, Luo Qingtong's current strength, coupled with the effects of the Saint Realm's martial arts and death blade, was completely invincible against those of the same realm. Bang bang bang. The bodies of the people from the Breeze Pavilion fell heavily to the ground. They wailed in pain, and the pieces of their bodies mixed with the rain of blood all fell on their bodies. The ground was filled with the smell of blood. The other people from the Sea Emperor's Dragon Court were all stunned. They looked in the direction of Luo Qingtong in shock. The strength displayed by the young girl had really shocked them. Chapter 1735. This is impossible. How is this possible? Song Yan had never thought that she would fall into the hands of Luo Qingtong. Even when she saw that Luo Qingtong's strength had risen to the sage stage, and that the people around her were also so powerful, she did not feel much fear other than hatred and jealousy. After all, she felt that Luo Qingtong would not dare to kill her. Even the people from the Black Field would not. At most, she would teach them a lesson like she did in the holy capital of the Great Qi dynasty. After all, they were from the Breeze Pavilion, a 6th-grade sect in the hidden world. However, Luo Qingtong had killed almost half of them with a raise of her hand. Not to mention how terrifying the power was, she did not dare to imagine that the other party would dare to kill so many of them. Luo Qingtong, you bitch. She lay on the ground and looked at Luo Qingtong, who was covered in blood and flesh. The stench almost made her vomit. Song Yan's face was filled with disbelief and hysteria. How could Luo Qingtong dare to kill them? How dare she? Her screams shocked the people from the Sea Emperor Dragon Court, as well as the remaining people from the Breeze Pavilion who were lying on the ground and howling in pain. They looked in Song Yan's direction in shock. Looking at her twisted expression, they could not believe what they had just heard. Was junior sister crazy? She still wanted to scold Luo Qingtong at a time like this. Did she think that they were not dying fast enough? The people from the Breeze Pavilion were in disbelief. They could not understand Song Yan's thoughts and brain circuits. Everyone from the Sea Emperor Dragon Court felt like she was a lunatic. Luo Qingtong did not dare to kill her? Why wouldn't he dare to kill her? Just because she was from the Breeze Pavilion? She was going to kill someone. Was she not allowed to kill her and let her go so that she could gather more power to take revenge? However, the name Luo Qingtong seemed a little familiar. Everyone complained in their hearts as they thought about it. Then someone suddenly widened his eyes. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Luo Qingtong is that evil Dr. Gui Tong's real name. The grand meeting of the 4 academies had already ended a long time ago. The news that Luo Qingtong was evil Dr. Ghost's pupil had already spread throughout the entire True Spill continent. The members of the Sea Emperor's Dragon Court in the northern region had naturally heard about this as well. They looked in the direction of Luo Qingtong in shock. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye? This young girl who was on good terms with their little prince was actually the evil Dr. Ghost's pupil, whose name shook the entire True Spill continent. Under everyone's gaze, Luo Qingtong slowly walked towards Song Yan, who was half sprawled on the ground. The aura around her expanded. Enveloped by her aura, Song Yan tried to get up a few times, but was suppressed by her. Luo Qingtong, my father is the Grand Elder of the Breeze Pavilion. If you dare to touch me, our Breeze Pavilion won't let you off. When the time comes, I'll definitely kill your entire family. Song Yan roared hysterically. She did not believe that Luo Qingtong would really dare to kill her. This bitch, she must be deliberately trying to scare her. Luo Qingtong stopped in her tracks. The Grand Elder of the Breeze Pavilion? Luo Qingtong lowered her eyes and looked at Song Yan, who was lying at her feet. That's right. Song Yan thought that Luo Qingtong was scared by her, and revealed a proud and cold smile. Chapter 1736. Is that so? That's quite impressive. However, Luo Qingtong looked at her and smiled. That smile was filled with icy coldness and murderous intent. I even dared to kill people from Celestial Palace and Beast-Taming King's Valley. Do you think I wouldn't dare to kill you? The smile on Luo Qingtong's lips was evil. She whispered these words into Song Yan's ears and sealed her mouth at the same time. Luo Qingtong's voice sounded like the whisper of a demon in her ears. Song Yan's face instantly turned pale. She stared at Luo Qingtong with wide eyes. She tried her best to open her mouth, but nothing came out. It was her. It was this woman who had made them the scapegoat of the previous Celestial Palace. There was also the matter of the Beast-Taming King Valley's elite disciples being killed in the hidden world. She was also the one who did it. This woman even dared to kill people from Celestial Palace and Beast-Taming King's Valley? That was a third-class sect and a first-class sect. Song Yan stared at Luo Qingtong in disbelief. Her face was filled with despair and shock. It was only now that she realized how laughable it was for her to go against Luo Qingtong. That would be equivalent to sending himself to his death. It was laughable that she had thought that Luo Qingtong wouldn't dare to kill her. Song Yan finally felt fear and regret, but it was too late. Luo Qingtong kicked her to the side. Drag her down. Deal with the third princess the way she wanted to deal with us. Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed with a bloody light. Hearing this, Song Yan screamed in agony. She recalled the methods that the third princess of the Sea Emperor had used to deal with Luo Qingtong. It could be said to be extremely cruel and terrifying. Previously, when she was listening from the side, she only felt that it was very satisfying. Now that she was about to experience it herself, she knew what it meant to be in the abyss. In an instant, she lost control of her bladder. Before she could cry out and beg for mercy, the people from the Sea Emperor's royal court who had been suppressed by them swarmed forward, gagged her, and dragged her down. These people had lost many of their clansmen when the Breeze Pavilion helped the third princess clean up the Sea Emperor's royal court. They hated Song Yan and the others to the core. As long as the people from the Breeze Pavilion were still alive, they were dragged down by them. They were well aware of the methods that the third princess of the sea had instructed them to use to deal with Luo Qingtong's corpse. They were sure that the people of the Breeze Pavilion would enjoy it very comfortably. As for Luo Qingtong, when she kicked Song Yan away, she had already destroyed all of her abilities and meridians. She also left a ball of power in her body, under the control of Luo Qingtong's mind. This ball of energy could destroy her body with just a thought. Luo Qingtong would not give Song Yan and the rest a chance to escape. Of course, in order to implant this power, the other party had to be completely defenseless. After Luo Qingtong was done, she turned to look at Huang Fuxi, who was receiving the transfer of power from the Sea Emperor's statue. The Sea Emperor and the others had also arrived at the plaza. With the Sea Empress support, he walked up to Luo Qingtong and thanked her. "Thank you, evil doctor." "It's nothing." Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. She was just about to say something when a bright light suddenly flashed in the depths of her eyes. And when she looked at Huang Fuxi again, her expression had already changed. "Oh no!" Chapter 1737. Translations. At this moment, she suddenly charged towards Huang Fuxi. "Demonic doctor?" Seeing this, the Sea Emperor and the others were inexplicably surprised. Then they hurriedly cried out, "No, demonic doctor, you can't. When inheriting the Sea Emperor's throne, you can't be disturbed, or you'll lose your qualifications." "Demonic doctor." The Sea Emperor's voice was urgent, and he hurriedly ordered the people around him to stop Luo Qingtong. Now that the third princess of the Sea Emperor's rebellion had been purged, the entire Sea Emperor's dragon court naturally obeyed the Sea Emperor's orders again. Before Huang Fuxi fully inherited the throne, everyone's commander was still the Sea Emperor. At this moment, seeing Luo Qingtong rushing towards Huang Fuxi, the group of people from the Sea Emperor's dragon court didn't know what was going on, but they obeyed the order and rushed towards Luo Qingtong. "Demonic doctor, we're sorry." The group of people from the Sea Emperor's dragon court wanted to stop Luo Qingtong. However, Luo Qingtong didn't care about them at all. "All of you, get out of my way." Her expression was stern, and she only focused on Huang Fuxi, who was enveloped in the light of the Sea Emperor's statue. The latter's eyes were tightly shut, and his face was indescribably serene. However, the image in Luo Qingtong's blood-red eyes wasn't like this. In her eyes, in the depths of Huang Fuxi's mind, a ball of light was constantly attacking his brain, trying to devour his soul. Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold. If she hadn't suddenly thought of wanting to see how the Sea Emperor's statue's authority was transferred, she probably wouldn't have known that such an unforeseen event was happening in Huang Fuxi's body. Damn it! The ball of light that invaded Huang Fuxi's mind was the light shining from the Sea Emperor's statue. The remnant consciousness of the first Sea Emperor was trying to possess Huang Fuxi's body. Luo Qingtong's heart trembled when she thought of how Huang Fuxi had transformed into a mermaid in front of her. And then she thought of how she only saw part of the people from the Sea Emperor's dragon court during the Sea Emperor's sacrificial ceremony. If she guessed correctly, the half-demon bloodline in Huang Fuxi's body was very strong, very close to that of the first Sea Emperor. Therefore, after the first Sea Emperor's consciousness of the Sea Emperor's statue came into contact with Huang Fuxi's body, it wanted to possess him. It was the first Sea Emperor, the first Sea Emperor's body's remnant consciousness of the sea. The first Sea Emperor's body. As Luo Qingtong thought of this, she immediately ordered the people from the dark region, "Stop them. Nothing must happen to little Lucky. She's Sea Emperors, the Dragon Sea Emperor Xuanyu, she's Emperor Shi, S Emperor, S Emperors, SS-Ri. As the consciousness of the Sea Emperor's statue actually wanted to possess Shi's body, it was simply courting death. Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold, and the life and death yin-yang sword in her hand had already been unsheathed, wanting to cut off the connection between the Sea Emperor's statue and Huang Fuxi. The people from the Sea Emperor's dragon court were all stopped by the people from the Black Field. When they saw Luo Qingtong's action, they couldn't help but cry out in alarm. "Demonic doctor." Everyone was anxious, and the Sea Emperor was even more anxious. He rushed forward 2 steps and almost fell to the ground. "Demonic doctor, you can't." Just as he spoke, the Sea Emperor's statue seemed to have sensed Luo Qingtong's action. Chapter 1738. Boom, boom, boom. Beams of light intertwined and fell from the sky in an instant. This was the defense of Sea Emperor Island built by the first Sea Emperor. At this moment, it was activated, forming a deadly force that blasted towards Luo Qingtong. Even if Marshal Uncle Zhang was here, he would probably be blasted to pieces by the attack formed by these lights. Luo Qingtong's eyes were piercingly cold. The bloody light in her eyes flickered violently, and she was about to find the key point of this defense. At this moment, swoosh! A hand suddenly appeared at her waist and pulled her into an embrace. Then there was a boom. An extremely majestic and vast power erupted from a figure that appeared beside Luo Qingtong in an instant. In the blink of an eye, the entire intertwined protective light, which had almost cut the entire sky, was blasted apart in an instant. Boom! The man standing beside Luo Qingtong had a cold look in his eyes. He was dressed in a black gilded robe with silver lining. In this explosion of protective light, he was like a god descending. Yi Qianxian raised his sleeve and waved. The protective light that gathered in the sky once again seemed to be frozen in midair. At the same time, Luo Qingtong's attack flew past Huang Fuxi and the Sea Emperor statue in an instant, cutting off the light that connected them. Bang! Huang Fuxi suddenly fell to the ground, his little face as pale as a sheet of gold paper. Sister. He looked at Luo Qingtong and glanced at the Sea Emperor statue. His eyes were full of fear. He was suddenly attacked when he was halfway through receiving the authority. Because he was unprepared, there was no way to resist. If Luo Qingtong hadn't discovered it, perhaps no one would have known that the soul in his body had changed. What was going on? Why did the Sea Emperor statue suddenly attack him? Huang Fuxi's face was full of horror. The Sea Emperor and the others also saw some clues from Huang Fuxi's unusual reaction. The Sea Emperor and the others found it hard to accept. The consciousness of the Sea Emperor statue actually wants to possess she. Especially Hai Ho. She ran over and hugged Huang Fuxi crying. Huang Fuxi had no chance to resist the Sea Emperor's consciousness that was trying to take over his body. This was too terrifying. If it weren't for Luo Qingtong, no one would have known that Huang Fuxi had died. The Sea Empress was terrified. She hugged Huang Fuxi tightly. After severing the connection between Huang Fuxi and the statue, Luo Qingtong looked up at Yi Qianxian. Qianren. She looked at the handsome face of the man above her head. He recovered? Luo Qingtong was pleasantly surprised. Yi Qianxian's expression was indifferent. He hugged Luo Qingtong and looked coldly at the statue of the Sea Emperor. He didn't care what the other party wanted to do, but if they dared to attack Luo Qingtong, then they were unforgivable. Boom. As Yi Qianxian raised his hand, the Sea Emperor statue seemed to be enveloped by an invisible palm in an instant. With a bang, its body suddenly exploded. In the next second, Yi Qianxian raised his hand and pulled out a ball of consciousness that was constantly twisting and struggling. That ball of consciousness formed a translucent figure in midair. It was 70 to 80% similar to the mermaid form that Huang Fuxi had transformed into for Luo Qingtong. Chapter 1739. The First Sea Emperor. The Sea Emperor and the others felt a chill in their hearts as they looked at the consciousness strength that had taken form. The members of the Sea Emperor's dragon court and the people around them were also shocked. The remnant consciousness of the first Sea Emperor was trying to possess Huang Fuxi. The people of the North region regarded the first Sea Emperor as a god, so they never expected this to happen. The people from the Sea Emperor's dragon court were even more shocked. They looked at the remnant consciousness that was being held by Yi Qianxian's power, and they had mixed feelings. The succession ceremony of the Sea Emperor's dragon court had always been very strange. Logically speaking, everyone was a direct descendant of the Sea Emperor, so it was understandable that the person with the purest bloodline and the strongest power was chosen to inherit the throne. But why did the person with the purest bloodline and the most powerful talent be chosen? All along, everyone thought that the first Sea Emperor wanted to choose the most worthy next generation to ensure that the talent of the Sea Emperor's bloodline could be passed down for a long time to come. However, they now knew that this was not the case at all. The reason why the first Sea Emperor set up such a succession ceremony was to prepare for his resurrection in the future. He wanted to choose the most suitable successor for his consciousness to possess. He was not choosing the successor of the Sea Emperor at all. He was choosing the body he wanted to possess. The reason why the previous generations of Sea Emperors were fine was because their forms had not yet reached its requirements. However, Huang Fuxi's transformation was 70 to 80% similar to his. Therefore, he chose Huang Fuxi immediately. After sorting out this layer of relationship, everyone looked at the remnant of the consciousness with an unusually complicated gaze. No one wanted to be possessed by someone else, even if that person was their ancestor. When they thought about how they had coveted the Sea Emperor's position before, and how they were also in danger of being possessed by the Sea Emperor, everyone found it very difficult to accept. Bang! After the consciousness was grabbed by Yi Qianxian, it was still struggling with all its might. The entire Sea Emperor Island was faintly trembling. The 4 surrounding islands were in the midst of a buzzing sound as they suddenly soared into the sky and flew towards this side. The surrounding sea beasts and sea monsters were also in an uproar. Boom! 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 Waves that were thousands of feet high rolled up into the sky and swept over in this direction as if the sky was falling and the earth was splitting. In just an instant, the entire Ocean Emperor Island seemed to be in the midst of a myriad of killing intent. Luo Qingtong frowned as she looked at the ball of consciousness in Yi Qianxian's hand. The Sea Emperor clan had the ability to control water currents and sea beasts. And this ability was even more vividly displayed by the first Ocean Emperor. They had to deal with him as soon as possible, otherwise, their troubles would be endless. However, this remnant consciousness seemed to have become one with Sea Emperor Island. Unless the island was destroyed, there was no way to deal with it. This was troublesome. Luo Qingtong frowned as she looked at the ball of consciousness energy. Then, she saw Yi Qianren's palm suddenly flip downwards. In an instant, the consciousness that was constantly twisting and struggling in his palm was sent into a golden bead. In an instant, the storm calmed down and the waves stopped. At this moment, the 4 floating islands returned to their original positions. Chapter 1740. Qianren, what is this? Luo Qingtong looked at the golden bead in Yi Qianxian's hand. After the ball of consciousness was injected into the golden bead, it immediately stopped moving. It was sealed inside and did not move at all. Luo Qingtong looked at it and had some guesses in her heart. To be able to cut off the connection between this ball of consciousness and Sea Emperor Island in an instant and seal the remnant consciousness of the first Sea Emperor, this should be the Sea Emperor's heart. Yi Qianxian's expression was indifferent. He had noticed that something was wrong with Luo Qingtong through the abnormal movements of the Sea Emperor's heart. Buzz. At this moment, the golden bead suddenly began to vibrate. It was the remnant consciousness of the first Sea Emperor inside that was unwilling to be sealed, and was desperately vibrating. Yi Qianxian's eyes were cold as he looked at the ball of consciousness that was constantly struggling and trying to break out of the bead. Want to come out? He snorted coldly and raised his hand to inject the golden bead into Huang Fuxi's body below. Refine. His voice was cold, and his words were concise. After he finished speaking, he raised his hand and an aura enveloped Huang Fuxi, suppressing the golden bead in his body that was about to fly out. Huang Fuxi got up from the ground, and the paleness on his face had not completely receded. Hearing this, he immediately began to operate the aura in his body subconsciously. The Sea Emperor's heart in his body jumped up in an instant. As the sacred object of the Sea Emperor's family, this Sea Emperor's heart was actually an object of the monster clan. Even the first Sea Emperor could not completely command it and make it submit, let alone let it be refined by Huang Fuxi. It was naturally unwilling. However, Yi Qianxian's aura that enveloped Huang Fuxi's body made it completely unable to resist. It could only be firmly bound in Huang Fuxi's body and constantly refined by him. Needless to say, the ball of consciousness of the first Sea Emperor in its body was even more terrifying. Huang Fuxi refined the Sea Emperor's heart and made it his own. It was also naturally refined and absorbed by Huang Fuxi. Its power was constantly being swallowed and absorbed by Huang Fuxi. As the Sea Emperor's heart was being refined more and more, it obeyed Huang Fuxi's orders and its power was being absorbed faster and faster. The possession failed, and it was being swallowed instead. Only now did the remnant consciousness of the first Sea Emperor know what it meant to regret. If it had a chance to do it all over again, no matter how outstanding Huang Fuxi's talent was, or how similar his form was to his, it would never try to possess him again. That man who stood in the sky like a god was truly terrifying. His power actually contained the aura of the heavenly Tao, making it completely unable to resist. Not to mention, there was also the aura of a high-level monster clan's aura. How could there be such a person in the true Spill continent? The remnant consciousness was horrified. Then, with a loud bang, it was completely absorbed by Huang Fuxi with a shrill scream. His heart its bang. Huang Fuxi's aura soared in an instant. In just an instant, his aura skyrocketed. Chapter 1741. However, the remnant energy within it still raised his strength by 2 grades, allowing him to reach the saint stage in an instant. The heart of the Sea Emperor also floated above Huang Fuxi's head in an instant. When the Sea Emperor's heart floated out, the entire Sea Emperor Island and all the surrounding islands, including those that were extremely far away, began to tremble rapidly in an instant. Buzz! Screech! Sea beasts and sea monsters roared into the sky one after another, and the sound wave after wave spread to extremely far places. All the sea beasts in the entire North region seemed to roar at this moment, congratulating the birth of the new Sea Emperor. This was a treatment that none of the previous Sea Emperors had ever enjoyed. From now on, all the sea beasts and sea monsters in the North region would listen to Huang Fuxi's orders and dispatch. Countless waves and waves also surged into the sky at this moment, expressing their joy. The people of the Sea Emperor Dragon Court were dumbfounded. In the end, they all knelt on the ground and respectfully welcomed the birth of the new Sea Emperor. However, although they were congratulating Huang Fuxi, they were even more shocked by Yi Qianxian's godly means just now. He smashed the statue of the Sea Emperor with one palm, and captured the consciousness of the first Sea Emperor with one hand. And that golden bead. Even though the crowd did not hear what Yi Qianxian said to Luo Qingtong, judging from the fact that the first Sea Emperor's consciousness could not resist the golden bead at all, it was obvious that it was their sacred treasure, the heart of the Sea Emperor. The man sealed it with one hand and forced it to submit to Huang Fuxi and be refined by him. His godly power was simply indescribable. While the sea beasts roared in unison, in the distance, the people of the Breeze Pavilion, who were being dragged by the people of the Sea Emperor Dragon Court to feed the sea beasts, were completely devastated when they saw this scene from afar. In particular, Song Yan looked back at Yi Qianxian, who was standing in mid-air with a godlike aura and a domineering aura. Her heart instantly felt like it had been bombarded by something. Was this the Black Field Mingzun? The man who protected Luo Qingtong at all costs? Song Yan had not seen Yi Qianxian in the sacred capital of the Great Qi dynasty previously. When the man appeared in front of the people of the Breeze Pavilion, he had always been wearing a mask. Therefore, she did not know that the man who had endlessly protected Luo Qingtong would be so extraordinarily handsome. Looking at Yi Qianxian and Luo Qingtong, Song Yan felt unbearable pain, especially when Yi Qianxian was hugging Luo Qingtong in an extremely domineering manner. Song Yan's was unbearable pain. She had always thought that Dark Region Venerable was wearing a mask because he couldn't see anyone, and she had all kinds of dark speculations about how ugly and terrifying he was. Now that she had seen the man's true face, she finally realized how laughable all her previous guesses and thoughts were, especially when she thought that Luo Qingtong would snatch Yin Yuju from her. In reality, as long as Luo Qingtong was not blind, she would not give up such a handsome and powerful man to snatch Yin Yuju from her. Even if she wanted to snatch Yin Yuju from her, she would be willing to give up, as long as the other party would give this man to her. Song Yan stared foolishly in Yi Qianxian's direction. Chapter 1742. He tilted his head slightly and glanced in Song Yan's direction. A look of disgust flashed across his eyes as he waved his sleeves. Bam! An extremely ferocious and domineering aura shot out in an instant. It passed through half of Sea Emperor Island and slammed into Song Yan. Ah! She screamed as she fell into the sea beside her. In an instant, the starving sea beasts that the third princess of the Sea Emperor had trapped in that area of the sea swarmed over and tore her to shreds. Ah! Song Yan's screams were endless. The rest of the people from the Breeze Pavilion were also pushed into the sea after the people from the Sea Emperor's royal court had knelt down to pay their respects. They were then eaten up by the sea beasts. Luo Qingtong sensed something when Yi Qianxian made his move. She turned her head and looked in that direction. Then she looked at Yi Qianxian and asked, "What's wrong?" "Nothing." Yi Qianren's eyes were indifferent, but they were extremely cold and sinister. He hated it when people looked at him with that kind of covetous gaze. It was disgusting. Other than Luo Qingtong, he didn't like anyone else looking at him with that kind of gaze. He had come in a hurry this time. After he returned to his human form, he sensed that something had happened to Luo Qingtong and forgot to put on his mask. Yi Qianxian's expression was cold, and the aura around him was extremely cold. He raised his hand and put a dark golden mask on his face, covering his handsome face that was enraged by the heavens and the people. At this moment, Huang Fuxi had also recovered from his extreme excitement. "Brother-in-law, thank you," he shouted happily. As soon as he said this, Bei Qing and Feng Yu, who had rushed over behind Yi Qianxian, looked at him strangely. This little boy is really something. The way he called him brother-in-law really resonated with their master's heart. The benefits he would receive would be endless. As expected, when Yi Qianxian heard Huang Fuxi's words, he narrowed his eyes and smirked. "Feng Yu." Yi Qianxian waved his sleeves. In an instant, something flew out from his sleeve and shot towards Feng Yu. Feng Yu hurriedly caught it with a respectful look on his face. "Master, give it to the Sea Emperor." Yi Qianxian's expression was indifferent. "Yes," Feng Yu replied. When he realized what he was holding, he sighed in his heart. This little Shota really hit the jackpot. Calling him brother-in-law, in exchange for such a treasure, if the people outside were to find out, who knows how many people would die of envy. "Ocean Emperor, this is a gift from my master. Please accept it." He walked up to the Sea Emperor and raised his hand to present the item to him. This is. The Ocean Emperor looked at the things that Beiqing had given him with the help of the people around him. His entire body trembled uncontrollably. Not because of anything else, but because this item that Beiqing had given him exuded an extremely strong demon power. The Sea Emperor's heart was filled with excitement when he saw this majestic and vigorous energy. "This is the heart of the heavenly demon fox," Feng Yu said in a low voice. "Sea Emperor, if you consume it, you can regain your talent and increase your lifespan by 100 years. Please accept it, Sea Emperor." The heart of the heavenly demon fox was only useful to the demon race. When Yi Qianxian killed the heavenly demon fox, he deliberately kept it for himself. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.